So we're coming to our final chapter, actually. After this, it's questions and answers. So we've reached the sadhya. Yesterday, we heard about the glories of Prem Vilas Vaicitya. We heard the glories of this. And this chapter was described as Vilas Tattva, pastimes Tattva. Mahaprabhu is asking about the activities in Prem. That was his question. So in answer to that question, we had Prem Tattva and we have Vilas Tattva. These two descriptions are there about the activities and the height of the activities. And principally yesterday, we were appreciating this Prem Vilas Vivart, how the illusion of Prem will impel Sri Radha to embrace a tamal tree, completely bewilder her mind. Krishna becomes astonished when he sees this, like the famous incident in Prem Sarovar, where Radha is sitting on Krishna's lap. Krishna is astonished to see the height of her separation mood when she thinks that Krishna has gone away forever. Madhu Mangal, he chases the bumblebee, Madhusudan, away and comes back and said, Madhusudan has gone forever. And Radhika goes into the highest separation mood, even though she's sitting on Krishna's lap. The gopis are totally astonished when they see, what to speak of Krishna. He is utterly astonished that Radhika loves me so much that she thinks if I've gone away, she's going to experience such a high mood of intense separation, even though I'm actually here with her. So this is Prem Vilas Vivart, this illusion. So when Rai Ramananda began to speak about this is so confidential. This is not really to be brought out in the open marketplace. Actually, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj describes that even if it was brought out into the open marketplace, the camel and ass-like men who were deaf and dumb to these activities would just walk away anyway. They would just go to sleep, basically. They wouldn't listen to it. So, nevertheless, we hold it in the highest confidentiality. At the same time, we also are following in the moods of my Gurudev that if we don't broadcast these topics, then they will be lost forever. My Gurudev said this a number of times. Unless we actually speak about these topics, then they'll just be buried under an ocean of Atma Tattva, or different teachings separate from the Leelas. It's actually easier to speak on direct Tattva. It's more logical. It's actually more simple to present it, so to speak. But when you're presenting the very height of this Ras Prem, then it's because of its crooked nature. It's not so direct. So it's not easy to comprehend. So we've traveled through from the proposition of Varnashram, Nishkarm Karma Yoga, Sharanagat, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, Gyan Shunya Bhakti, Prem in Shantaras, then Dasya Sakya, Vatsalya, and then Kantaras, or Madhurya Ras is described. Then what is the Prem of Radhika? The Prem of Radhika was next described. And then Mahaprabhu is requesting, now give me Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, to erect the pillars for the palace of Ras to sit solidly on. So on that foundation, we've been able to enter into this highest sadhya. This sadhya, we had Prem Tattva, which was the approach, so to speak. And then we had this Vilas Tattva, which is so esoteric, so deep and intense, that it's just for our individual appreciation. This is not really for just speaking on the open market, so to speak. But now that this was the sadhya yesterday, I explained yesterday, this is the height. This is the height, the pinnacle of this Rai Ramananda Sangbad. But even higher than this is the mercy of Mahaprabhu. He wants to know, it described clearly how the jiva can enter into this sadhya, how he should approach this sadhya. So for most of us, this will take perhaps lifetimes to actually realize the ultimate reality of the sadhya. We are being given the impression of the direction to set our focus, to set our compass. Yes, this is where I'm going. I'm going in this direction, towards this Radha Bhav, towards this appreciation of what is this Prem Vilas Vivart. So Mahaprabhu has covered the mouth of Rai Ramananda when he began to describe this, because it's so intensely confidential. And we were given a couple of propositions from, one was from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, saying that these topics are too esoteric and they're too much indescribable, it's described. Unprecedented subject matter about the path of devotional service. So to keep its confidentiality, Mahaprabhu is doing like this. But also, my Gurudev gives the primary reason that Mahaprabhu himself didn't want to hear this, these words put into the ether, so to speak. He stopped Rai Ramananda from saying that anymore. But still, we have the truth given to us by our acharyas of what is the meaning of this Prem Vilas Vibhart. Now Mahaprabhu is requesting Rai Ramananda to give the Abhideya Tattva, how to practice this. So now we come to the final chapter, basically, under the guidance of the Sakhis. And we're going to go very deep into this appreciation that without the Sakhis' assistance, then nothing will transpire. So, just a second. So, yes. So we're going to, these verses, actually, I've explained already, the editors got behind with the verse numbers. So it's written in our Rai Ramananda Sangbad book as being 195, but actually it's 196 in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All the verses are one behind because they left a verse out. So if you're following in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's verse 196 where we're going to begin. And what we'll do today, which I think is a better arrangement, is that we'll read each verse and then I'll speak the translation. So then we can break it down into more sequentially unfolding accessibility, we can say. Okay, so we'll start with 196 actually to 205. Those are the real verse numbers. So we can begin. This chapter is under the guidance of the Sakhis. This is what it's going to be all about. Okay.
प्रभु कहे साध्य वस्तु अवधिये हाय तुम्हारा प्रसादे इहा जानिलु निश्चय.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed these verses recited by Sri Ramananda Rai, saying, this is the limit of the goal of human life. We've just touched on that sadhya. This sadhya, we could spend a lot of time going over it again and again. It would be very ecstatic at some point. But I want to actually complete this particular book so that you know where all these topics are. So in your personal reading, your personal bhajan, you can refer to them and you know what's in the books. That's the purpose of my going through this, so that you'll become familiar with all the different chapters and the topics, etc. So This is the limit of the goal of human life. Only by your mercy have I come to understand it conclusively. Mahaprabhu is saying this. Okay. 197.
साध्य वस्तु साधन विना केह नहीं पाए कृपा करी कहा राय प्रभुरा उपाय पाबरा उपाय.
The goal of life cannot be achieved unless one practices the process. Now, being merciful upon me, please explain that means by which the goal can be attained. Krishna is present in the atmosphere, but can you see him? No. We have to do a process to see him. And one analogy or example is given like in milk. Is there butter in milk? Yes, there's butter, but it needs to have a process to produce the butter. It has to be churned. So similarly, the goal to be attained has to be churned by sadhan bhakti. It's by our practice that we will attain. The churning is the sadhan. So please explain the means by which this goal can be attained.
राय कहे ए कहो से कही वाणी की कहिए बालमंड किचु न जानी.
Sri Ramananda Rai replied, I do not know what I am saying, but you have made me speak what I have spoken. Be it good or bad, I am simply repeating that message. This is the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu won't say it himself, just like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra when Krishna is instructing Arjuna. He says this beautiful verse, Shipram Bhavati Dharmata, Sashvad Chantim Nigachati, Kuntaya Pratijani, Name Bhakta Pranashyati. He tells Arjuna to proclaim this boldly in the world. People will listen to him more than perhaps they will listen to Krishna. Krishna is beyond everyone. He's like Achintya. So if Mahaprabhu is saying this, he wants that Ramananda Roy will say this. And then he has the faith that he will be listened to by all the respectable personalities. Ramananda Roy is the governor of Madras. He's a very respected resident of Puridam. So if he declares it, then many people will actually listen and heed it. So this is the dynamic, this is what's happening here. That Mahaprabhu is injecting the inspiration for Ramananda Rai to say these things. But we should appreciate so deeply that it's coming from the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And our affection and attraction and love for Mahaprabhu should be increasing more with any type of realization we have from this Sangvad. It's his compassion that he's giving it to us. So be it good or bad, I'm simply repeating that message.
त्रिभुवन मध्य ऐचे हया कौन धीरा ये तुम्हारा माया नाते हा इबेक स्थिरा.
Within these three worlds, who is so undisturbed that he can remain steady as you manipulate your different energies? So Ramananda Roy is becoming completely ecstatic by vibrating this sound that Mahaprabhu is injecting him with to speak.
मोरा मुखे वक्ता तुम्ही होय श्रोता अत्यंत रहस्य सुना सादरेन साधनेर कथा.
Actually, you are speaking through my mouth, and at the same time, you are listening. This is very mysterious. Anyway, kindly hear the explanation of the process by which the goal can be attained. Now, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has a very beautiful purport, and I'd like to read that also to supplement our meditation and reverence for this topic. So, Srila Sanatana Goswami has advised us to hear about Krishna from a Vaishnava. He has explicitly forbidden us to hear from an Avaishnava. So we have to hear from Vaishnavas. Avaishnava Mukhar Girinam Putram Hari Katamritam Shravanam naiva karatiyam suprachistam yatha paya. Oh, my glasses, better reading. Thus, quoting from Padma Purana, Srila Sanatana Goswami warns that one should not hear anything about Krishna from an Avaishnava. However great a mundane scholar he may be, milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by an Avaishnava are also poisonous. However, because a Vaishnava is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his talks are spiritually potent. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says, Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to worshipping me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. When a pure Vaishnava speaks, he speaks perfectly. How is this? His speech is managed by Krishna himself from within the heart. Sri Ramananda Rai accepts this benediction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he admits that whatever he was speaking was not derived from his own intelligence. This is his natural humility. However, everything was coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya kaham hridi sanivisto, mataha smritya jnanam apornam cha, vedes cha sarvai aham eva vedyo, vedanti krit veda vid eva kaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta. I am the knower of the Vedas. Everything is coming from Krishna. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is confirming, is making this understanding more beautiful to appreciate that all of this is coming from Mahaprabhu's heart through the mouthpiece of Ramananda Rai. My intelligence emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul within the heart of everyone. Non-devotees want to ask the Supreme Lord for sense gratification. Therefore, non-devotees come under the influence of Maya, the illusory energy. If a non-devotee or someone who is not having his focus set on attaining the ultimate reality of Braja Prem, then there's going to be a twist on everything that he's actually presenting, and we're not going to be purified by that kata. It's going to be deficient. We have to seek the purity of the text, etc., and where it's coming from. A devotee, however, is directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes under the influence of Yogamaya. Consequently, there is a gulf of difference between statements made by a devotee and those made by a non-devotee. So this was Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's purport for this last verse we read about that this is very mysterious, Ramananda Rai is saying. Anyway, kindly hear the explanation of the process by which the goal can be attained. So now Ramananda Rai is going to go on with the answer to the question.
Radha Krishnera Leela Yati Ghudatara Dasya Vatsalyadi Bhave Nahai Gochara.
The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are very confidential. They cannot be understood through the mellows of servitude, fraternity, or parental affection, Dasya, Sakhya, or Vatsalya. Mother Yashoda doesn't know what Krishna is doing. She doesn't know the hearts of the gopis' love and praying for Krishna. She knows Vatsalya Bhav. Krishna is my son. She's melting in affection for Krishna as her son. But the conjugal Kanta Prem of the gopis is foreign to her completely. So how can she say this?
Sabe ek saki ganer ihan adhikar saki haite hai e leela vistar.
Actually, only the gopis have the right to appreciate these transcendental pastimes, and only from them can these pastimes be explained.
Saki bina ye leela pushta nahi aaye Saki Leela Vistariya Saki Ashvadai.
Without the gopis, these pastimes between Radha and Krishna cannot be nourished. Only by their cooperation are such pastimes broadcast. It is their business to taste the mellow. So I'm reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are the translations of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we shall have no doubts when we have Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj on one side and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on the other side.
Saki bina ye leelai anyera nahi gati. Saki bhave ye tare kare anugati.
2 verses here.
Radha Krishna Kunja Seva Sadhya Se Pai Se Sadhya Paite Ar Nahi Ka Upai.
Without the help of the gopis, one cannot enter into these pastimes. Only one who worships the Lord in the ecstasy of the gopis, following in their footsteps, can engage in the service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna in the bushes of Vrindavan. Only then can one understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. There is no other procedure for understanding. These are the words of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, translated by Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. So, in our reading, in our study, in our absorption, as was cautioned initially, we have to be very cautious about where we're taking our nectar from. And we have to be assured of the fidelity or truthfulness of the Vaishnava where we're receiving this. So I think no one has any doubts about Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, or if they have doubts about Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, then they should pray to him to have those doubts purified. So now, again, I want to read these same translations that are given by my Gurudev, because we hear it twice from a different, slightly different perspective, and we'll gather more. The principle, as the chapter title indicates, that under the guidance of the Sakhis, this is the Abhideya, this is the process that Mahaprabhu is giving us to reach that sadhya that we explained yesterday. So this is where we're up to. So I'm going to read the translation of all those verses collectively together. Having heard Sri Ramananda Rai singing his own composition, Sriman Mahaprabhu said, "O Rai, that is sufficient. You have described the topmost limit of sadhya vastu, or the ultimate object of attainment." This is what Mahaprabhu had come for. By your mercy, here Mahaprabhu reveals his humility. I have understood the different gradations of this subject matter. However, without the appropriate sadhan, one cannot attain this rare sadhya. So now Mahaprabhu is explaining this for our benefit. He's actually heard the nectar that he came to receive. Understand the background. Mahaprabhu has this Sakhi Bhav in potential to taste Radha's mood. And he's come to the Godavari to bring this Sakhi mood out. Previously in Navadvip, this Sakhi Bhav wasn't manifesting. Mahaprabhu in Navadvip is more in Shamras, when he's tasting that Mahabhav in the Sankirtan Ras, in Srivas Angam. What is the height of his prem? It's the same as Krishna's prem in Vrindavan. Vrindavan and Navadvip are non-different. Navadvip is Gupta Vrindavan. So what did Krishna taste in Vrindavan was Mahabhav. But Mahaprabhu has the potential to go beyond that, to taste this Rudha and Adiruddha Mahabhav, higher than that. These are only in the heart of Sri Radha and the Sakhis. Not even all the Sakhis. The principal Sakhis can taste this Adiruddha Mahabhav. Sometimes it's said that only Radha will taste this Adiruddha Bhav. Other commentators have said that Lalita, Sakhi, Vishaka, they can also taste a semblance of that Adiruddha Bhav. But this is what Mahaprabhu has come as the Ashraya. He's come as the devotee in this incarnation to taste. That's why he's come as the devotee, so he can be devoted to Krishna. But in Navadvip, this doesn't manifest, this Sakhi Bhav. So he's come to Godavari and he's hearing from Sri Radhika's dearmost Sakhi, Vishaka. Vishaka is she's born on exactly the same moment as Sri Radha. They're practically like two bodies. Lalita Sakhi is superior in one sense, but Vishaka also has her extreme, special, Vaishistya, special qualities. And Mahaprabhu has come. It wasn't Swarup Damodar that opened this box. Swarup Damodar is Lalita Sakhi. It was Vishaka Sakhi. The love between Radha and Vishaka is exceptional. So Mahaprabhu has come to hear from Ramananda Rai, who is Vishaka, and can give this Sakhi Bhav because he has it. Just like in Krishna Leela, Krishna even goes to the school of Sandipani Muni. He always shows his affiliation for the proper kram, the proper process of receiving from a guru, from a spiritual master. Mahaprabhu has also already demonstrated this by connecting with Ishwara Puri through the line of Madhavendra Puri. But now he wants this exceptional, special ras. When he was connecting with Ishwara Puripad and Madhavendra Puri, just like the preaching principally in Bengal was fulfilling the desires of Advaita Acharya, who was distributing in Bengal. What was Advaita Acharya petitioning the Lord to appear for? He was petitioning him to appear to give Shuddha Bhakti into the world. The world had become so dark in this regard of bhakti. And Advaita Acharya called for an avatar to put the light of Shuddha Bhakti into the world. He didn't call to put Braj Prem into the world. That was something that Mahaprabhu himself benedicted this Kali Yuga with. Even Nityananda, we think of this beautiful verse that was described in the Rath Yatra festival, when Mahaprabhu was chanting this verse, Yat Komara Harasa Eva Hi Para Ta Eva Chaitra Shapas. He chanted this verse. Who understood it? Did Nityananda Prabhu understand that verse? Did Advaita Acharya understand that? No. Only practically Swarup Damodar understood that verse as Lalita Sakhi. And it's described one young man, one young boy even. This is Rupa Goswami. So he wrote a supporting verse of that, describing it completely. And then Mahaprabhu says, when he reads this, he questions Swarup Damodar. He says, how did he know my heart? Because Rupa Goswami is Manjari Bhav. This is the highest potential that Mahaprabhu wants to give. He hasn't actually come to give this Sakhi Bhav that he's talking about here. But first of all, he has to taste that Sakhi Bhav. And then within his meditation, within his bhajan, in the Gambhira, he enters into the Leela as a Manjari. Krishnadas Kaviraj describes in one chapter, in the Antya Leela, how Mahaprabhu takes the form of a Manjari and he's assisting in preparing the picnic, etc., for Radha and Krishna's pastime. How can he give Manjari Bhav without this experience of it? So try to understand all the background, the whole picture that is happening here. So Mahaprabhu is saying that, O Rai, that is sufficient. You have described the topmost limit of Sadhya Vastu, the pinnacle, or the ultimate object of attainment. By your mercy, I have understood the different gradations of this subject matter. Yes, we've come through from Varnashram all the way through to here, very systematically, very logically, so we don't become confused, etc. We can walk through these steps, perhaps even over a number of lifetimes we can walk through these steps. However, without the appropriate sadhan, one cannot attain this rare sadhya. Now Mahaprabhu is saying this for our benefit. Therefore, please be kind enough to describe the method to achieve this goal. This is the kindness of Mahaprabhu at this point. Initially, he wanted to understand the sadhya so he could taste that prem himself. Now he wants to distribute that prem. And he's going to indicate that only through the Sakhis, through the anugatya of the Sakhis, even more than that, through the manjaris. Our line begins with Rupa Goswami. Mahaprabhu is giving this gift to Rupa Goswami to spread through the world. Mahaprabhu wasn't directly giving Manjari Bhav to anyone other than Rupa and Sanatan and the 6 Goswamis, but principally just Rupa and Sanatan. It's not that the whole world he was walking around giving, he has given it all to Rupa Goswami, who will open that out for the whole world. This is the gift of Mahaprabhu, to give this Swabhakti Shriyam through Rupa Goswami. He himself is like Radha, Sakhi, and he himself is going to taste these extraordinary Ashtasattvika bhavs that Radhika experiences in her Vipralamba, in her separation mood. So we need to catch the whole picture here. Hearing this, Ramananda Roy said in great meekness, I am only speaking those instructions which you desire me to speak. Among my statements, I cannot discern what is good or bad. Who within the 3 worlds is so forbearing that he is not shaken upon seeing the drama enacted by your illusory potency? A beautiful expression. Shaken by the material energy. You are the one who speaks from within my mouth, and you have also become the audience. Please now hear the discussion of this most confidential sadhan. So now Ramananda Roy is ecstatic. He's going to speak the sadhan on behalf of Mahaprabhu. These pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna are extremely private. They are beyond the understanding of those associates of the Lord who have taken shelter of Dasya, Sakya and Vatsalya Ras. Who is Advaita Acharya? He is Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. So what experience of this Braj Ras? He is hearing about it. They are all hearing about it from Rupa Goswami. In the first chapter of Antyalila, chapter 1, when Rupa Goswami sits in the courtyard of Haridas Thakur, and all the associates come, and they all listen to Vidagdha Madhav, Lalita Madhav, that Rupa Goswami is speaking. And they're all astonished at what Rupa Goswami is saying. Being inaccessible, they are extremely rare. These Leelas come only within the jurisdiction of Srimati Radhika's Sakhis, because Mahabhav is found exclusively within them. You have to have the person who has that to give that. So who has that? The Sakhis. These pastimes develop only due to the Sakhis' participation. The Sakhis alone have the right to taste them. Apart from those situated in this Sakhi Bhav, no other associates may enter into these Leelas. They're completely confidential. It doesn't matter how much of a scholar you are, reading, unless you've taken shelter of the gopis, that means of the manjaris, that means of our line of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj, of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, of Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, of Srila Bhakti Param Gurudev, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, on these topics. have a right to taste them. Apart from those situated in this Sakhi Bhav, no other associates may enter into these leelas. It's just, you can't do it. Only the sadhaks who remain under the guidance of those with this Sakhi Bhav may enter the domain of ultimate attainment, because we need the kripa. We need to hold the rope to be pulled up. Rendering service to Sri Radha Krishna within the groves of Vrindavan, that is the goal. Apart from this method, there is no other means to achieve this goal. So that's the translations that we've just heard. Now, my Gurudev is going to give a commentary on this. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that only when Mahaprabhu had heard everything in full does he affirm that the topic of sadhya has been discussed comprehensively. That means sadhya, the treasure box, has been opened completely with the conclusion of Prem Vivart Vilas, or Prem Vilas Vivart, this very confidential topic that we touched on only yesterday. Now Mahaprabhu inquires, what is the sadhan for achieving this ultimate goal? Please speak about that. Sri Ramananda Rai reviewed the premise of those sadhaks who worship in the moods of Dasya, Sakhya and Vatsalya are unable to attain entrance into this most confidential subject matter. Only the Sakhis of Braj are situated in Mahabhav. They alone have accepted this mood. When it says Mahabhav, that's a general term. It doesn't necessarily indicate Rudra and Adiruddha, these higher stages that Mahaprabhu has come to taste specifically. They alone have accepted the mood, and solely by the performance of sadhana under their guidance is it possible to attain the most brilliant, most confidential, most mysterious, and most intensely sweet goal, the Kunja Seva of Sri Radha and Krishna. Because it's service to Radha and Krishna that is the ultimate goal. Who performs that service? It's the Manjaris perform the most intimate service. Yet at the same time, the Sakhis themselves perform incredible service. Radha and Krishna can't meet, as we said many times, without the arrangement of the Sakhis. Making, what is this sixth verse, I think it is, seventh verse, sixth verse of the Guru Vastakam we sing every day. Nikunjo Yono Rati Keli Siddhai. What is Guru doing? Guru here is referring to that Manjari Guru in our line. What is he doing? He's at every moment trying to arrange for Radha and Krishna's meeting. He's engrossed in that seva. This is Sadguru. This is pure Guru. No one except the Sakhis can enter this lila. This infers that Lalita, Vishaka, and other Sakhis, such as Sri Rupa Manjari, are eternal associates. We're talking about an eternal reality. So these personalities who will invite us in there, they must be from that eternal realm of Sri Radha and Krishna's Kunja Seva. It is thus essential to perform sadhana under their guidance. Anugatya. What's the problem, really? I mean, why should we be hesitant to perform seva under their guidance? It's the most sublime service that we can. We don't have to speculate. We don't have to conjecture anything separate from how Lalita Sakhi is indicated. We hear in Jaivadama, in the very first chapter, when Prem Das Babaji goes into his Nishanta Lila meditation, and Vaishnava Das is sitting there at his side, and he tells him to silence the monkey Kakati, because Lalita Sakhi will be disturbed. Lalita Sakhi. And then who is under Lalita Sakhi? It's Ananga Manjari. He's saying the line directly. And then he says, you are Raman Manjari. You follow Ananga Manjari and Lalita Sakhi in that gun, in that line. Owing to a lack of association with pure saintly devotees, there remains present within the jivas a wide variety of material desires, such as a yearning for residence in the heavenly planets, the longing for liberation, the desires to attain the abodes of the other incarnations of Bhagavan. So these are considered anartas, although previously, historically, these were the goals that even Vedavyas put forward, this karma kand and gyan kand path, dharma, artha, karma, moksha. These were the principal purusarthas to be attained. But Vedavyas wasn't enlightened in the fifth purusartha until Narad came. So it's all, we have to see the historical connection, the flow. Previous to Vedavyas, previous to Srimad Bhagavatam, what we've spoken too many times about this, what was, even Jayadev Goswami, we just said the other day, couldn't write that Krishna himself puts his head at the lotus feet of Sri Radhika. Couldn't do that. Krishna had to come and do that for him. Because they weren't given the kripa from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's this kripa from Mahaprabhu and his direct line through Rupa Goswami. Sri Bhagavan fulfills all of these desires also. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation of Prem Avatari. Krishna himself is Leela Avatar. Mahaprabhu is Prem Avatar. Ram is Purushottam, Maryad Avatar. He's giving the direction of Dharma. We need this historical context to appreciate the magnitude of this sadhya. If we get the context through the previous 6 manvantaras, where we're coming through, that's millions of years, billions of years. It's come to this pinnacle today of realizing the gift of Mahaprabhu. It wasn't even as accessible 500 years ago, 400 years ago, 300 years ago. It wasn't as accessible as it is today. Today I'm speaking on these different mediums to perhaps 200 or 300, 400 people about the most confidential topic in existence. There isn't a more confidential topic. It was never even remotely heard of prior to Mahaprabhu. Even when Mahaprabhu was on the planet, I just explained that verse he chanted. Who understood it? Only Rupa Goswami understood it. So appreciate the speciality and significance of it, and the blessedness or auspiciousness that we have today to hearing these topics. It's not just a regular thing, you know. It's something that is it's something exceptional. And it's not for everybody. Not everyone is going to have the capacity to become interested in this topic. If we're interested in these topics, we'll diligently study our Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu daily, our Srimad Bhagavatam, all of Chaitanya Charitamrita, all the teachings of Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All of these personalities are giving this same truth. So this Prem Avatari and the combined form of Rasaraj Sri Krishna and Mahabhav Mai Sri Radhika. It is he. So there's like 3 persons mentioned here. There's the combined form of Rasaraj Sri Krishna, that's 2, that's Radha and Krishna. And then there's Sri Radha separately. When you see Gaur Gadadhar, it's as if you're seeing 3 personalities, or 4 if you include the Prem. Understand? It is he, Mahaprabhu, who distributed the glories of pure Prem of Braj. It's Mahaprabhu. And who tasted Unnata Ujjvala Prem. We don't taste Unnata Ujjvala Prem, we serve Unnata Ujjvala Prem. He didn't come to give Unnata Ujjvala Prem. Sometimes I hear devotees say that. It's a mistake to say that. He came to give this Svabhakti Shriyam service to that Unnata Ujjvala Prem, that topmost Prem. That's not for the jivas. That's for those eternal associates, or those that actually the divine couple themselves exclusively. Especially the Madanakya Bhav of Sri Radha. So now it's making it clear. And it was he who, in order to bestow mercy upon the pure sadhaks, asked this topmost question. Mahaprabhu is giving this freely in this conversation. It was he, in order to bestow mercy upon the pure sadhaks, asked this topmost question, and also spoke these confidential and secretive truths from the mouth of Ramananda Rai. Only by the mercy of Sriman Mahaprabhu, and only by staying under the guidance of his devotees, can one understand the difference between loving sentiments for the Lord in awe and reverence, Aishwarya Prem, and sentiments for Sri Krishna predominated by feelings of sweetness and intimacy, Madhurya Prem. Madhurya gave his life to accentuate the distinction between Dwarka and Vrindavan and Mathura. Again and again and again, the Prem in Braj is totally, Krishna is dependent on the Brijvasis. He's completely dependent on them for his sustenance, for his love. He's drinking their affection for him. But in Dwarka, they are all dependent on him. It's such a contrast. We have to deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate this to enter into meditation on Braj Leela. It's something so distinct, categorically distinct. It's another world completely, another Prakosht. Where do we get up to?
This Mahabharata.
Wait a minute.
Last one.
Oh yes. So this Mahabhav is not found within the sentiments of Dasya, Sakhya, and Vatsalya, even if it's in Vrindavan. We're talking about Mahabhav here. We're talking about the highest sadhya. And actually, the Madhurya Ras or Sringara Ras present in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura is called Swakya. Anyway, that Ras there is Swakya. It's a marital relationship. It's very, very different. When the hero and heroine are married and is mixed with sentiments of awe and reverence, Aishwarya, Sri Krishna cannot be controlled completely by these moods. It's described the queens, they attain the stage, the blissful stage of Anurag. That's the height. We have Prem, Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Anurag. And then after Anurag is Bhav, Mahabhav, Ruda, Adiruda. So the gopis completely go higher. The fact that Sri Lakshmi Dev herself is performing austerities in Belvan, a forest within Brajmandal, in order to achieve the transcendental amorous love of the gopis proves this. Obviously her love wasn't sufficient. So Lakshmi Devi is wanting to come into the Braja pastimes. Lakshmi Devi represents all of Aishwarya, the wife of Lord Narayan, not wife, consort. The Sakhis of Sri Radha are the exclusive proprietors and presiding goddesses of this highest aspect of Bhav found in the Kunja Seva. Therefore, remaining under their guidance is the topmost sadhan for achieving service to Sri Krishna, Sri Radha and Krishna, under the guidance of the Sakhis. Okay.
8205. Vibhurapi Sukharupa Swaprakasho Vibhavaha Kshanamapi Nahi Radha Krishnayo Yarite Swa Pravahati Rasapushtim Chit Vibhutir Iveshaha Shrayati Napadam Asam Ka Sakinam Rasagnya.
This is from the Govinda Lilamrita 10:17. So we're continuing with the same thread. Sri Radha and Krishna's bhavs are self-manifest. Self-manifest. Coming from them alone. Unlimited and composed of complete ecstasy. Even so, not even one iota of ras can be experienced without the Sakhis, even though, this is a remarkable statement, even though they're self-manifesting, they can't manifest without the assistance of the Sakhis. They're self-manifesting, but they must have the Sakhis to manifest, just like with Mahaprabhu himself. He has this Radha Bhav in potential, but it doesn't manifest until he comes in contact with a Sakhi. Then that Sakhi Bhav of Radha will manifest prominently in his heart. Understand? I think I'm speaking very simply. I don't think it's anything extraordinary. I'm just reading. Even so, not even one iota of ras can be experienced without the Sakhis, just as Ishvara, the supreme controller, is never manifested without his spiritual potencies or opulences. The Shakti is always there with Krishna. Therefore, what knower of ras will try to enter these pastimes without taking the shelter and guidance of the lotus feet of the Sakhis? I think I'll stop here for today. It continues with the same vein. Shall I stop or shall I stop now?
Yes.
Okay. The vote is to stop now. Okay. So I think we've explained sufficiently. I hope everyone is comfortable with the process, with the structure and the way it's the logical progression. If we get that, it's like the intelligence can grasp that. That's the Samvid Shakti. And then later on, when that actually comes into the heart, mixes with the mercy from Radhika in the form of the Hladini Shakti, then profound realization that these topics can manifest. So we'll continue tomorrow. We'll continue on Monday. Tomorrow, by the way, is the appearance day of Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram Maharaj. So he was one of the 3 pillars of the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. And these 3 personalities, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj, and Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram Maharaj, the 3 of them, held together the edifice that Srila Bhakti Priyan Keshav Maharaj had manifested from the Devananda Gaudiya Math with the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti, which Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was there for the inauguration of that Samiti. So it's like one family completely. We shouldn't become too much sectarian. It's not necessary. It won't help our bhakti. So Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram Maharaj is an exceptional personality. He never took disciples. The other 2, Srila Vamana Maharaj, it was agreed, would take all the disciples initially. And then when the Western disciples started coming, then Srila Vamana Maharaj ordered Srila Narayan Maharaj to take and carry the burden of the Western society, Western devotees. So he did like that. So that's tomorrow, so you can all meditate on the divine glories of Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikram Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Maharaj ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So we're coming to page 186. So as we've described a number of times, Mahaprabhu's mercy is overflowing in this remarkable Sangvad, between this conversation between Ramananda Rai and Mahaprabhu is waking up his Sakhi Bhav. He's waking this up for us, for our sake. So he's coming from the very beginning, Varnashram, then Nishkarm Karma Yoga, Sharanagat, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, Gyan Shunya Bhakti, walking through these steps, Prema Bhakti in Shantaras, then Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, then Madhurya or Kanta Prem, And then Radha's prem for Krishna. That's when it's going to really open up deeply. Then after that, Mahaprabhu is requesting Krishna Tattva, then Radha Tattva, erecting the pillars for Prem Tattva, which will be discussed after that. And then this Vilas Tattva, where the sadhya is held. What is the sweetest essence of Radha and Krishna's relationship? And it's describing how Srimati Radhika becomes so bewildered, this vivart. She becomes in illusion. She thinks that the tamal is Krishna. She runs for him to embrace that tamal. She sees a peacock feather and she faints. Krishna is astonished when he sees her love for him. This is what is attracting Krishna to her, when he sees the immensity of her love for him. This melts his heart entirely. But now we come to the most remarkable section, the remarkable part, where Mahaprabhu is asking for. Mahaprabhu accepts, yes, this is a sadhya. You can't go more than this. He even covers Rai Ramananda's mouth, not to put such confidential topics out into the ether. At the same time, to protect the sacredness of this topic. But now he's asking, now what is the sadhya for the sadhak? Now he's tasted this for himself. He wants that Sakhi Bhav to manifest. Simultaneously, just like we have the verse, Prem Ras Niryase Korite Ashwadan. Mahaprabhu has come to taste his own prem. That's the first reason why he's come here. And the second reason, Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Karite Prajan. He's come to give this Rag Mag to the conditioned jivas of this world. So now he's reached the highest in the Prem Vilas Vivart. But now for our sake, he's coming into what is the method, what is the abhideya for the sadhak to attain this. And this is very, very beautiful, because only the Sakhis hold the key to the door, the entranceway into this service to Radha and Krishna. It must go through the Sakhis. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. It has to come through the Sakhis. Exactly like we've described before in Jaivadama. It's mentioning straight away Lalita Sakhi and then Ananga Manjari in the first chapter. This is substantiated, this is put down. So now we've come to this incredible chapter, which is the most beautiful for the sadhak to appreciate the seva to the Sakhis. And in order to perform this seva, we must appreciate the height of the Sakhis' prem. The Sakhis are giving everything for Radha and Krishna's happiness and satisfaction. They want nothing for themselves. This is the highest conception of prem, love. Nothing for themselves whatsoever. So this is what we're discussing, the under guidance of the Sakhis. So we've come to page 186, and yesterday, or on Saturday, we spoke this beautiful Govinda Lilamrita verse, and I'll read the translation again, and then we'll get into this more deeply. So Sri Radha Krishna's bhavs are self-manifest, unlimited, and composed of complete ecstasy. The bhavs between Radha and Krishna, that Unnata Ujjala Prem, is unlimited, self-manifest. Even so, not even one iota of ras can be experienced without the Sakhis. Just as Ishvara, the supreme controller, is never manifested without his spiritual potencies or opulences. It must be there. Therefore, what knower of ras will try to enter these pastimes without taking the shelter and guidance of the lotus feet of the Sakhis? This is the heart of our sadhana, to take the lotus feet of the Sakhi. Under Lalita Sakhi, Vishaka Sakhi are the manjaris. And the manjaris are those who are carrying this jewel into the world. All this mood of the manjaris is our line. So Mahaprabhu is igniting this line in the heart of Rupa and Sanatan, who will in turn enlighten Jiva Goswami, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, etc., Narottam, Srinivas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. All these personalities will carry this same message of Anugatya of the Sakhis. They themselves are Manjaris. They are giving this opportunity for the conditioned Jiva to serve in the way of the Manjaris. This is what they are giving. Therefore, what knower of Ras will try to enter these pastimes without taking the shelter and guidance of the lotus feet of the Sakhis? So my Gurudev's commentary. The bhavs of Sri Radha and Krishna are exceedingly full of happiness indeed. They are the very embodiment of the highest form of joy. A sadhak of transcendental amorous love who is filled with this prem can automatically savor the sweetness of this ras. By this sweetness, he also is able to experience great happiness when he's serving that sweetness. Just as a person automatically tastes the sweetness of sugar candy by keeping it within his mouth. When we're contemplating these topics, thinking about them, rolling them around in our consciousnesses, there's going to be tremendous sweetness for the sadhak to experience. However, without the grace of the Sakhis, the prem of Sri Radha and Krishna cannot reach its fullest state of blissful completeness. Only the Sakhis hold that key. These next few pages will be describing this in detail. So appreciate this sadhya, so to speak, the goal of where we're going, and wait for the entire topic to be unpacked, which it's going to be in the next few pages. It'll become very clear. The question may arise, someone may ask, if this is so, that worshipping Radha and Krishna through the Sakhis is saying, then what is the necessity of mentioning the self-manifesting and unlimited nature of the love of Sri Radha and Krishna? Why should we hear about that love if it's through the Sakhis that we're going to actually be able to serve that love? Swarup Shakti is unlimited. Just as Krishna is unlimited, his Swarup, his energy, his Shakti is unlimited. She is also completely spiritual, Brahmvastu, and her special play is prem. This is what's going to please Krishna. Or bhakti. If prem or bhakti were not in fact unlimited, then how could she have brought the complete spiritual entity Bhagavan under her control? She has to be so immensely potent to bring that supreme entity Bhagavan under her control. The Shrutis say, Bhaktiya eva garisi, gariyasi. Bhakti is indeed glorious. And Bhakti Vashaha, Purushaha, Supreme is controlled by Bhakti. He's controlled by this profound savor, selfless savor. The ocean, this is so wonderful for the jivas to hear, because in this material conception, this bhakti is not manifesting, is not apparent for the jiva. The jiva has to connect with that person who has bhakti. Bhakti sanjate bhaktya. Bhakti comes from bhakti. So we have to connect with that to appreciate the nature of bhakti. But the material world is devoid of this bhakti. The ocean is an immeasurable body of water, and by the force of the wind, waves rise up, making it appear as if the ocean is leaping. Similarly, even though the oceanic prem of Sri Radha and Krishna is self-manifesting, still it is supported and nourished by the assistance of the wave-like Sakhis. The Sakhis are making all the arrangements for Radha and Krishna to meet. Radharani is so attached to her Sakhis. Krishna also is attached to Radharani. So all the Sakhis are manifesting ultimately from Sri Radhika to bring pleasure to Krishna. In the axiom about the love of Sri Radha and Krishna, the Sakhi's glories are extraordinary. Despite himself being the unlimited, omnipresent, and self-manifesting supreme controller, his quality of being the controller is even further enhanced by the assistance of Chitta Shakti. He becomes more the entire controller through his Shakti. Similarly, Shringara Ras is even more deeply nurtured by the ministration of the Sakhis. The Sakhis arrange everything. Prem and the Sakhis are not separate entities. In my book, I've underlined that sentence. Prem and the Sakhis are not separate entities. Indeed, the development of Prem hinges on their participation. For Krishna to really find the highest bliss, it's actually in the Ras Leela. It's a festival. And a festival means many, many people. Not just two, not just Radha and Krishna. So the festival of love, this Ras Leela, is where Radha and Krishna experience the highest ecstasies. The Sakhis are Prem Swarupini, meaning that they are composed of Prem, and they are also embodiments of Prem, as well as expansions of the bliss potency, Ladini Shakti. They're all manifesting from Sri Radhika. We have to appreciate this deeply. Okay.
8, 206 to 209.
So it's actually 207.
7 to 10.
10.
Sakira Swabhaveka Akatya Katana Krishna Saha Nija Leela Nahi Sakiraman Krishna Saha Radhikara Leela Ye Karai Nija Sukha Haite Tate Koti Sukha Pai Radhara Swarupa Krishna Prema Kalpalata Sakhi Gana Hai Tar Pallava Pushpa Pata Krishna Leela Amrita Yadi Latake Sinchaya Nija Sukha Haite Pallavadyera Koti Sukha Hai.
The nature of the Sakhis is unparalleled and indescribable. Never does the thought of finding their own happiness in an intimate meeting with Krishna even appear in their minds. The happiness they experience by arranging the solitary meetings of Sri Radha and Krishna, they accept as being millions of times greater than what they would experience by being with Krishna directly. Sri Radha is likened to the truly personified form of the wish-fulfilling vine of Prem for Sri Krishna, and the various Sakhis are the leaves, twigs, and flowers that take shelter of this desire-fulfilling creeper. By sprinkling the creeper with the nectar of Sri Krishna's pastimes, the sprouts, flowers, and leaves become happier than if someone sprinkles them directly. So we might think, from reading many other Shastras, how the gopis are, like Chandrabali, for example, trying to hijack Krishna. Are they thinking of their own happiness more than the happiness of Radha and Krishna? Actually not. Radhika is inspiring that love in the heart of Chandrabali, ultimately for Krishna. It's coming from her. Chandrabali is Radhika's Kaya Vyuha. Radhika is inspiring the heart of Krishna to consort with Chandrabali. For Leela, how can Srimati Radhika go into this state of Kandita, this heroine, this angry heroine? Or Kala Hantarika, how can she become so angry as to put Krishna out of the Kunj, unless Chandrabali has been there to capture Krishna? How can that manifest? How can Man manifest without such personalities as Chandrabali? And if there are other gopis, they're also inspired by Sri Radhika. And Radhika will inspire the heart of Krishna to be a... This is what we're going to hear. So this question may come while we're hearing this. But it's all being inspired by Radhika. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur confirms that Sri Radha is the transcendental, wish-fulfilling vine of Krishna Prem. And all the various Sakhis are its leaves, buds, and flowers. When this vine in the form of Sri Radha is watered, then the flowers and buds who have taken shelter of the vine are automatically nurtured. In the same way, the gopis do not directly enjoy the happiness of meeting with Sri Krishna, rather by arranging Sri Radha's meeting with Sri Krishna, they become joyful. The Sakhis themselves take great pleasure when Radha and Krishna are uniting together. They are the power source, we can say, and from them all the Sakhis are manifesting. But for us to take this seva to Radha and Krishna, it must be through the Sakhi's mercy. Okay, Bill.
8 to 11. Sakya Shri Radhikaya Vraja Kumuda Vidor Hiladini Nama Shakte Saramsha Prema Valya Kishalaya Dala Pushpadi Tulya Swatulyaha Shiktaya Krishna Leelamrita Rasa Nishchayer Ullasantyam Amushyam Jatollasam Swasakya Chatagunam Adhikam Shanti Yattanna Chitram.
Govinda Lilamrita 10:16. The Sakhis of Braj are similar to Sri Radha. They are the essential parts of Braj Kumuda Chandra's Hladini, or pleasure potency known as Radhika, who is the personification of his internal energy. She is the wish-fulfilling creeper of prem, and the other gopis are like the vines, buds, leaves, and flowers. The beauty of that vine are in the flowers and buds. When the nectar of Krishna's pastimes is showered on the supremely blissful Sri Radhika, all the gopis experience the pleasure 100 times more than if they were showered themselves. So all the gopis, principally, they are constituted of the Shakti manifesting from Sri Radhika. So they all want to bring pleasure to Krishna. So by serving the divine couple and uniting them, this will bring them the greatest pleasure. This is not at all surprising. Braja Kumud Vido. Here it refers to none other than Sri Krishna, who is just like the moon for the lotus-like gopis of Braj. The word Vidho is given the possessive case, Shasti, sixth conjunction, indicating a relationship. Here, Vidho indicates Sri Krishna's energy, known as Hladini. The Sakhis are his energy, as is Radhika. This is confirmed by use of the words Prem Valari, a creeper of love, which signify the essential principle of this Hladini Shakti. The Shasti is again used for the noun Sakya Shri Radhikaya, with reference to the Sakhis of Srimati Radhika. The phrase Kishalaya Dala Pushpadi Tulaya describes the gopis, who are likened to new leaves, sprouts, and flowers. Here, Swatulya refers to those gopis who look like Sri Radhika and who are her non-different expansions, Hakaya Vyuha Swarup. This goes for all of the gopis. Just as the night lotus blossoms naturally upon the rising of the moon, similarly the residents of Braj, who are like the night lotuses, naturally blossom once they obtain darshan of the moon of Braj, Sri Krishna. Of all the Brijvasis, the gopis especially become pleased. Thus, Sri Krishna has been called Raja Kamud Vidu, or the moon of the lotuses of Braj. A moon brings out the blossoming nature of the flowers and trees, etc. The essence of Sri Krishna's internal potency or pleasure potency is prem, and the vine of this prem is Sri Vrishabhanu Nandini herself, Sri Radha. The various gopis are the newly blossomed sprouts, flowers, and leaves of this vine. These Sakhis are the beauty of the wish-fulfilling vine of prem, Sri Radha. Her happiness indeed constitutes the happiness of the gopis. Just like we water a vine and the leaves and flowers are nourished by that watering to the main root of the vine. But this is the same as the verse when we say this, Unnata Ujvala Ras Sva Bhakti Shriyam. This is saying that Mahaprabhu, he's tasting that Unnata Ujvala Ras. But what is he actually giving? He's giving that Swa Bhakti. Swa means own, Krishna's own Bhakti, who is Radhika. Swa Bhakti, Shriyam, the beauty of her Bhakti. So the beauty of the vine is in the flowers and ultimately the manjaris. That is the beauty of Sri Radhika. Her happiness indeed constitutes the happiness of these gopis. If water is supplied to the actual root of the vine, then all the flowers, leaves, and twigs are also nourished. There is no need to water each part separately. There's no need to try to make a relationship with Krishna separately. If we worship Sri Radhika, if we serve internally under her desire, that will nourish Krishna the most. No need to water each part separately. In a similar manner, all the other gopis who are compared to the leaves, sprouts, and flowers automatically reap supreme satisfaction from Sri Radha's happiness.
8 to 11 to 14. यद्यपि सकीर कृष्ण संगमे नहि मान तथापि राधिकाया यत्ने कारण संगम नाना चले कृष्णे प्रेरी संगम कराया आत्म सुख संग हईते कोटि सुख पाया अन्योन्य विशुद्ध प्रेमे करे रसा पुष्टा तान सभार प्रेम देखी कृष्ण होय तुष्टा सहज गोपीर प्रेम नहे प्रकृत कामा काम क्रीडा साम्येतार कही काम नामा.
Although the Sakhis do not possess even the slightest desire to enjoy themselves with Sri Krishna directly, still Radhika makes an active effort that enables them to meet with him. This is what we were just saying. She makes an active effort for the other Sakhis to meet with him privately. She sends the gopis to Krishna, employing a great variety of clever ruses, as well as inspiring his heart with a desire to meet them. So not only sending them, but inspiring Krishna's heart to meet with them. At such times, she enjoys a happiness 10 million times greater than the happiness she experiences when directly meeting with him. So this is wonderful to appreciate. Since the internal consciousness of Sri Radhika and the gopis is pervaded by Vishuddha Sattva, or pure spiritual existence, Srimati Radhika always remains engaged in continuously bestowing happiness upon the gopis, and vice versa. It's a complete team, we can say. It's all Shakti Tattva. It's all Shakti itself. The quintessence, the height of that Shakti is Sri Radhika. But all the other portions of that Shakti are her Sakhis. Srimati Radhika always remains they are ever absorbed in nourishing or expanding sentiments of ras. Upon seeing their mutual exchanges, Sri Krishna becomes most satisfied. The prema of the gopis is completely natural. There is not even the slightest scent of profane lust within them, because they don't want for themselves, they're imbued with this desire for Krishna's happiness, his pleasure alone. Due to its resembling mundane, lusty affairs, the prem is often called calm or lust. because we can relate to that. We start there, and then we purify this lust within the heart of the sadhaks. That has to be purified to come to the same mood as the selfless gopis. Even though the calm of the gopis and the calm of this material world bear a resemblance to each other, factually the difference between them is like that between heaven and hell. In this apricot calm or transcendental non-material lust, there is not even a trace of desire for one's own happiness. Rather, the sole desire is an abiding, continuous thirst to bestow happiness upon one's beloved. This is so much satisfying, to bring happiness to one's beloved. Thus, this calm is Vishuddha, transcendentally pure prema. The calm of the material world is self-centered, performed for one's own enjoyment, insignificant, detestable, and the path to hell. So we have to change track from our enjoying material tendencies to just relishing the topics of the spiritual world. This is going to bring the biggest purification to the consciousness. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Sri Radhika engages the Sakhis in the service of Sri Krishna, and the Sakhis find happiness in arranging for her to meet with him. So it's reciprocal. The Sakhis are arranging for Radha, and Radha is arranging for them. Just like we have the pastime when Radhika leaves the Ras Leela, then she's thinking about her Sakhis and they catch up with her. People devoid of ras or intelligence say that Sri Radha and the gopis desire to meet with Sri Krishna. Is this a form of material lust in which they are seeking their own enjoyment or not? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, no, it is not. Factually, intimately meeting with Sri Krishna or arranging for Sri Krishna to meet with others is performed only out of love for him. Seeing Sri Krishna's pleasure, the gopis also feel happiness, and they think that their lives have become successful, being engaged in his service. The people of this material world cannot conceive of even a shadow of this prema. What to speak of to approach it? Thus, due to their polluted tendencies, people see this completely pure and sacred prema in the same as insignificant, profane lust. So this point has to be cleared in the heart. What are we talking about here? We're being given entrance into a window into the transcendental reality, and we have to leave behind our material baggage, including this material desire to enjoy matter. That has to be totally purified. This is all part of our sadhana.
Okay. 8215. Premaiva goparamanam kama it agamat pratam it uddhavavadayo pya etam vanchanti bhagavat priyaha.
That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 285, 286. The prema of the beautiful maidens of Braj is known as calm or lust. However, by constitution, that prema has no mundane lust in it, in its makeup. It is for this reason that Uddhav and other devotees of the Lord also desire this prema. Uddhav is the most respected personality in all of Mathura and Dwarka. Totally respected. All the rishis and sadhus, they're all completely respectable personalities. And they are dwelling on these pastimes between Radha and Krishna. If there was some trace of material lust there, that wouldn't be shastric, that wouldn't be their path. Just like we've described about Parakya Ras. So many exalted, the most exalted chaste ladies of the universe are honoring Sri Radhika. They're serving her. And how can that Parakya Ras be abominable, have anything to do with the material abomination of a man seeking relationship with someone else's wife in this world. So it has nothing to do with that, because such respectable people are following this path. Although both iron and gold are categorized as metals, there is an enormous difference between them. Likewise, both material lust, calm, and the pure love, prem, appear somewhat similar, but they are in fact totally distinct. Lust is a function of the illusory potency known as Maya, while prem is a function of the all-spiritual Swarup Shakti. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur further says that there are various alluring desires presented in the Vedic scriptures, such as the desire for elevation to higher worlds, the desire for progeny, especially sons, and the desire for material wealth and opulence. So within Shastra, this is there. These material desires give rise to worldly religiosity. The religious principles enunciated in the Vedas, the pursuance of religious principles according to one's birth and body, desires for self-happiness in the form of mukti or liberation, adherence to the path of elevated society, the maintenance of affection for one's family members, performance of fruitive actions, karma, womanly shyness, patience, chastisement from family members and friends, and fear. All of these are self-seeking behaviors and forms of self-indulgence, performed for one's own sense enjoyment and to fulfill one's own desires, and performed for one's personal pleasure and success. Isn't it a fact? Take each one of those examples and apply it in our own lives and see how much we've left the material conceptions behind. There is a difference of heaven and hell between prem and calm, sacrilegious lust. The calm of the gopis is beyond material intelligence. We start from that premise.
Okay, 8, 216, 217. Nijendriya sukha hetu kamera tatparya, Krishna sukha tatparya, gopi bhavarya. Nijendriya sukha vanchana hi gopikar, Krishna sukha dite kare sangama vihar.
Calm is the desire to give pleasure to one's own senses. The topmost sentiment of the gopis is called prem, and its only intention is to give pleasure to Sri Krishna. These gopis have never have any desire for their own enjoyment. All of their intimate meetings with Sri Krishna are only for the purpose of giving him pleasure. This is the whole dynamic. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the tendency to perform the topmost service to Sri Krishna, who is himself the very embodiment of pure and complete spiritual knowledge, Sangvit Vigraha, can never be said to be calm or mundane lust. Rather, abandoning Sri Krishna's happiness to pursue other forms of enjoyment is called calm. May one's life be dedicated to Sri Krishna, and may the service performed to him be prema-mayi, or loving service. Then Sri Krishna will be pleased, may be pleased. The Sakhis are entirely composed of these selfless desires, which are present within them to an unrestricted extent. And these gopis, who are the embodiment of prem, remain committed to eagerly serve in this manner. So this is the nature of prem. Now we're trying to purify the mundane material conception to help us to understand the height and extraordinary nature of these gopis that we're aspiring to serve under.
8, 218. Yatte sujata saranambujam, yatte sujata charanamburuham staneshu, bita sanai priyadadimahi karkaseshu, tenatvim atasi tat vyatare nakim suit kurudir kurupadibir brahmati dhir bhavat ayusham naha.
This is the last verse of the Gopi Gita. So the gopis have sung their 18 verses now. This is the last one. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:31-19. The gopis, afflicted by feelings of separation from Sri Krishna, lament, your divine feet, even softer than a lotus, we place upon our hard breasts, very timidly and very carefully, lest we hurt them. Those same soft feet carry you through the dark forest. Are they feeling any pain, being wounded by pebbles and stones? Simply the thought of this sets our heads spinning, causing us to fall in a swoon. O Sri Krishna, O Shyam Sundar, O Prananath, O possessor of our lives, we live only for your sake. We are yours, we are yours. So this mood the gopis are feeling, any pinch of discomfort to Krishna is going to bring great pain to them. This is the selfless love that's being described here. This is our objective, to desire this selfless love. By Guru's mercy, by Krishna's mercy, by in the anugatya of those who possess this selfless love, who are the gopis. Srila Jiva Goswami Pad explains that after this the gopis began crying very loudly. They then became senseless and fell upon the ground. In this way, simply by the mere thought of the slightest pain to their beloved, the gopis fell unconscious, whereupon Sri Krishna appeared amongst them. Thus seeing their Pran Ballabh, their dearmost beloved, Sri Shyam Sundara, whose beauty defeats that of millions upon millions of cupids, the Braj Gopis again took possession of their life heirs, which returned to their bodies. Altogether they stood up, and with loving glances from their blossoming eyes, they looked towards him in a mood of great happiness. So we see they went to the very depths of separation, distracted despair, we can say. Of course, in the spiritual conception, it's not the same despairing mood as it would be in the material. Their hearts were overflowing with prema at this point. And Krishna returns to them. And then he says, Na pariyeham niravadya, I cannot repay you. And just by saying this, the gopis feel completely reassured and satisfied.
Okay. 8, 219 to 222. Se gopi bhavamrite yar lobahaye veda dharma lokatyaji se Krishna ke bhajaye raganugamarge tare bhaje e jana she jana pai vraje vrajendra nandana vraja loke rakon bhavalana ye bhaje bhava yogya deha pana Krishna pai vraje tahate drishtanta upanishad sutigana ragamarge bhaji paila vrajendra nandana.
One who has developed greed to attain the gopis' nectarian prem completely abandons the regulative principles of Vedic life, such as the Varnashram system, as well as various materialistic goals, such as attaining residence in the heavenly planets. Rather, the devotee completely surrenders unto Sri Krishna and performs exclusive bhajan to him. Those devotees who are inclined towards the path of Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, adopt the sentiment of anugatya, or remaining under guidance of superiors. They perform service to Sri Krishna, and in the holy abode of Sri Vrindavan, they attain Sri Brajendranandan Sri Krishna. Whoever accepts one of the moods of the various eternal associates of Braj Mandal and performs bhajan following their moods of service to Sri Krishna, after receiving an appropriate spiritual body, Siddhadeha, achieves the service of Sri Krishna in Braj. The Upanishads and the Shrutis serve as testimony to those who achieved the service of Sri Brajendranandan by doing bhajan in the mood of Rag Marg. Commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the 64 limbs of bhakti are especially pertinent in Vaidhi Bhakti. By performing these limbs of devotion with pure faith or Shraddha, one receives the qualification to enter Bhakti. Sometimes, however, after appreciating the loving service combined with the natural anurag of deep attraction that the residents of Braj feel towards Sri Krishna, a greed may awaken in their hearts for some extremely fortunate of some extremely fortunate persons to also achieve the same loving service towards Sri Krishna that the residents of Braj have, and they will become fully dedicated to attaining that desire. Rupa Goswami is there. Tishtem Braje Tanuragi Janugami. He's saying like this in the 8th verse of Upadeshamrita. This is the path of Raganuga Bhakti. Greed to attain the nectarian moods of the Brajagopis bestows the qualification to enter the path of Raganuga Bhakti. After entering the path of spontaneous devotion, Ragmarg, and then performing this bhajan, attachment for the path of Vedic principles, such as following the Varnashram, is automatically and easily dispelled. Within the realm of Braj are Sri Krishna's servants, Raktak and Patrak, his friends Sridham and Subal, and his parents Nanda and Yashoda. They naturally serve him according to their particular moods. Although one may have great enthusiasm to perform this Brajaras Bhajan, devotional service in the mellow of Braj, still one will have a special greed for a particular ras. And it is in accordance with that particular greed that one will receive a completely spiritual body that is also compatible to one's mood. In this way, at the time of attaining perfection, one achieves Sri Krishna. The Upanishads and the Shrutis give evidence of this. The Shrutis have expounded that one cannot attain the qualification to perform bhajan of Brajendranandan, Sri Krishna in Braj, without being under the guidance of the Brajagopis. In this consideration, the Shrutis too accepted the supervision of the Brajagopis, and by following the path of Rag Bhakti in their spiritual form, Brajendranandan, Sri Krishna. So the Shrutis themselves are following in the Anugatya of the Brajadevis. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Brajarasik Vaishnavas, who are expert in tasting the ras of Braj. Accepting both initiation, diksha, and instructions, shiksha, from such personalities, one should reside in Vrindavan under their guidance and perform bhajan according to the principles of Raganuga Bhakti. Additionally, in one's bhajan, one should follow the guidance of a specific, eternally perfected associate of Sri Krishna. Thus, one should perform Manasi Seva, service performed in the mind, more precisely by serving internally with one's eternally perfect spiritual body, Siddhadeya. One should thus follow the associates of Sri Krishna, such as Sri Radha, Lalita, Vishaka, and Sri Rupa Manjari. One should also serve as a sadhak by one's physical body, following the example set by the devotees, such as Rupa, Sri Sanatan, and the other residents of Braj. So we have the verse, Seva Sadak Rupena, Siddha Rupena Tatrahi, describing exactly what's being said here. It is only in the Lord's absolutely perfected eternal associates, Nitya Siddha Parikas, that Rag Atmika Bhakti is found. This pure devotion is always present within their hearts, always present. Wholly perfect absorption in one's desired object is called Rag. Those persons in whom this Rag naturally resides are called Ragatmika devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained all this.
Okay. Ishte swarasiki raga paramavishtata bhavet tanmayi ya bhavet bhakti satra ragatmiko dita.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.272. Rag is the unquenchable loving thirst for the object of one's affection. which gives rise to spontaneous and intense absorption in that object. Ragamaya Bhakti is the performance of seva, such as stringing garlands, with such intense rag.
Vrajantim abvikatayatam vrajavasi janadishu ragatmikam anusrita yasa raganu gochate.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2 again, 270. Devotional service imbued with spontaneous profound love and attachment, Ragatmika Bhakti, is vividly expressed and manifested by the eternal residents of Vrindavan. Devotional service that follows their devotional mood is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of the Ragatmika associates of Sri Radha and Krishna of Braj. We are being described as being Rag Anugas. We are following in the wake of the Rag Atmikas. The Atma is soaked in Rag. These are the Rag Atmikas. We are Rag Anugas. We are also Rupanugas. All of these verses are from Rupa Goswami. The following evidence shows that the personified Vedas performed bhajan in Rag Marg.
8-23. Nivritamarun manokshadruda yoga yujo hridiyan munaya upasate tad arayopi yayu smarana striya uragendra bhoga bhuja danda vishakta diyo vayam apite samaha samadrisho gri saroja sudaha.
This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10:87-23. The personified Vedas are praying, O Lord, greatly learned sages and yogis, having conquered the life airs, mind and senses by strictly practicing the mystical yoga system and worshipping the impersonal Brahman effulgence, have ultimately achieved the position of nirvana or liberation. But even your enemies have attained that position simply by thinking of you in enmity and always desiring your ruination. Sri Radhika and your other eternal beloveds place your nectar-filled lotus feet on their firm breasts, being attracted and bound by the beauty of your supremely soft, rounded, elongated, and nicely decorated arms, which are like the king of serpents. We have also tasted the nectar of your lotus feet in exactly the same way as have your eternal beloveds, the gopis, by following in their footsteps. So this is, I think, is spoken by the queens, the Mahishis of Dwarka. They're wanting to actually follow because they've heard about the gopis praying. So these topics are very beautiful. They are confidential. If we can just patiently hear these topics, just simply give oral reception to these topics, that is enough to begin with. And by themselves, these topics will begin to manifest in our consciousnesses to the degree that our consciousnesses become purified. To that degree, we will comprehend these topics more and more. So it depends on our effort. This relationship with Sri Radha and Krishna and Guru, it's like the two fingers binding Krishna. They were too short, this Chesta and Kripa. So simply by hearing these topics, making an effort to just be patiently hearing, then these topics gradually will start to take root in the heart. So tomorrow we'll continue with my Gurudev's commentary on this verse on page 197. Jai Rai Ramanand Samvad Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So now we come to our subject matter, and we've reached the Abhideya. We've passed the Sadhya. The whole purpose of this Rai Ramanand Sangvad is for Mahaprabhu to ignite that Sakhi Bhav in his heart. Sakhi Bhav means Radha Bhav. So when we say Sakhi Bhav, we mean Radha Bhav. So even though now we're just exclusively highlighting the seva of the Sakhis, nevertheless, when we say Sakhi Bhav, this is in reference to Sri Radhika is a Sakhi. She comes in the category of Sakhis. She's the manifester of all the Sakhis, but she is a Sakhi herself. So Mahaprabhu has come to ignite that Sakhi Bhav of Radha Bhav within his own heart, as well as to give the jivas this seva to this Unnata Ujjvala Ras. So Mahaprabhu has requested Ramananda Rai now to give the jivas the pathway to attain this sadhya. We've said many times that if our sadhan bhajan is not focused on bhav bhakti, culminating in prema bhakti, our sadhan bhakti is like zero. So bearing this in mind specifically, we've discussed the different sadhyas throughout. Varnashram, Nishkaram Karma Yoga, Sharanagati, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, Gyan Shuni Bhakti, Prem, Dasya Sakya Vatsalya, and Radha Kanta, or Madhurya Prem. And then Radha's love for Krishna, which is the principal desire of Sri Radhika. So this is divided actually into like 3 portions. Mahaprabhu is requesting and finally, what is Prem Tattva and what is Prem Vilas, Vivart. This was the sadhya. So now we're coming down and we're describing, actually for the jivas it's going up because this is the goal, this is the pathway. This is to attain the mercy of the Sakhis, the gopis of Braj. So this is what we're highlighting here. And we're glorifying, Ramananda Rai is glorifying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is glorifying through the mouthpiece of Ramananda Rai, the glories of the Sakhis. So we'd reached page 197, and we'd already spoken this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. But I'll read this translation again. We can hear this again on page 197. The personified Vedas are praying, O Lord, greatly learned sages and yogis have conquered the life airs, mind, and senses by strictly practicing the mystic yoga system and worshipping the impersonal Brahman effulgence, but have ultimately achieved the position of nirvana or liberation. But even your enemies have attained that position simply by thinking of you in enmity and always desiring your ruination, like Kamsa, etc. Sri Radhika and your other eternal beloveds place your nectar-filled lotus feet on their firm breasts, being attracted and bound by the beauty of your supremely soft, rounded, elongated, and nicely decorated arms, which are like the king of serpents. We have also tasted the nectar of your lotus feet in exactly the same way as have your eternal beloveds, the gopis, by following in their footsteps. So this is glorification of the gopis. The gopis are glorifying here. So now we come to my Gurudev's commentary on this verse. In this verse, the word arayaha, indicates the enemies of Sri Krishna, such as Kamsa, who always thought ill of Sri Krishna, or to be precise, who always thought of him in fear, Bhayaras.
Ari is the enemy. Arayaha is the plural for enemies.
What did I say?
Yeah, Arayaha. That word.
Where are we?
Yeah,
Oh, Arayaha. Arayaha.
Plural of Ari.
Arayaha.
Yes.
The plural of the enemies of Sri Krishna. By remembering him in this way, his enemies achieve liberation, or Brahma Sayuja, the very same destination achieved by yogis and saints, offering after millions of years of extremely difficult austerities. That is the first astonishing thing. My Gurudev is going to unpack this quite extensively. The second amazing point is that the same destination is achieved by both saintly personalities through their constant meditation upon Bhagavan and those demons who also think incessantly of Bhagavan. So the yogis are achieving the same oneness because they're not understanding what is the glory of Braja Prem. They haven't been exposed to that. Mahaprabhu either hasn't manifested or they've chosen to ignore his teachings and just pursue the path of liberation and oneness with the Lord. So that's Sayuja Mukti, which is what Kamsa attained. Then yogis and rishis are also aspiring for that same goal. Third, saintly persons who faithfully worship Bhagavan with full devotion and knowledge achieve the same destinations as the enemies of the Lord who consider him to be an ordinary human and even harbor feelings of hatred and violence to him. So what does that mean?
It's a contradiction.
Yes. I'll read it again. Third, saintly persons who faithfully worship Bhagavan with full devotion and knowledge achieve the same destination as the enemies of the Lord, who consider him, the enemies of the Lord consider him to be an ordinary human being. Or the saintly persons who are meditating on Bhagavan, but it's saying the saintly persons who faithfully worship Bhagavan with full devotion and knowledge achieve the same destination as the enemies of the Lord.
Because enemies are also constantly thinking of the Lord as...
But that's in Sayuja Mukti. That's what we've just said. So even saintly persons can achieve this oneness, this liberated condition. This is what it means. Who consider him to be an ordinary human. The demons consider him to be an ordinary human and even have feelings of hatred and violence towards him. So these saintly persons who are worshipping Bhagavan faithfully with full devotion, they also in some instances will achieve the same destination as the demons. There is another utterly remarkable concept in the words Uragendra, Bhoga Bhuja, Danda, Vishakta, Diya. The hearts of Sri Krishna's beloveds were attracted by his charming arms, which being soft, rounded and elongated, resembled the body of the king of snakes. Those gopis who were embraced by his arms and who considered the all-pervading Sri Krishna to be limited, clasped his soft lotus feet to their breast. The gopis are considering Sri Krishna to be limited because they're seeing him as an ordinary boy, an ordinary cowherd boy, as they are considering themselves as ordinary cowherd girls. Therefore, it's saying here, the all-pervading Sri Krishna to be limited. They never consider Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, they couldn't perform these very intimate pastimes. If they knew he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they couldn't engage in the same frivolous, sometimes beautiful ways that they do with him. In this context, Samar refers to following the gopis, and by so doing, the personified Vedas achieve the bodies of gopis and receive the nectar of Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Here is one more point that merits deeper thought. The eternally perfected gopis considered Sri Krishna as their upapati, or unwedded lover, and they also regarded his form to be localized or limited. That's what we've just described here. In the previous chapter, saying they describe the all-pervading Krishna as being limited. So it's saying here that the gopis, as their unwedded lover, regarded him to be localized or limited as a cowherd boy. Understand? The Shrutis, however, considered Sri Krishna to be the supreme truth, and therefore they accepted Sri Krishna as all-pervading and unlimited. So the Shrutis are not the confidential associates of Vrindavan. They're not Brijabasis. And they considered Krishna to be the ultimate supreme truth, the unlimited. Even like Uddhav, always considered Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead. He worshipped him in awe and reverence. Hence the Shrutis offered prayers and attained the bodies of gopis. So they had to have, to come closer, they had to have bodies of gopis, the accomplishment of which is extremely hard. So they had to perform severe austerities to achieve the bodies of gopis. Only by virtue of being under the guidance of the gopis did it become possible. This is what it's saying. By the potency of the gopis, then the Shrutis attained bodies of gopis. It's highlighting the shelter of the gopis. This is the Shrutichari gopis, yes. There's 4 types of gopis. Shrutichari, Rishicharis, and the Deva, Devakanya and the Gopakanya. These 4 types of gopis. Only by virtue of being under the guidance of the gopis did it become possible. It is also worth bearing in mind that the gopis are Sri Krishna's eternal beloveds. Therefore, it is completely natural for them to hold his lotus feet to their breasts. The Shrutis, however, are not Sri Radha's Kaya Vyuha, bodily expansions. This is the big distinction we're talking about here. And not his eternal beloveds. Still, they too held Sri Krishna's lotus feet upon their breasts, which is very rarely attained. The Brihat Vamya Purana testifies that the Shrutis had been praying unto Bhagavan for a long time. This pleased Bhagavan, and when he asked them to choose a benediction, they replied, "We want to perform loving service to Sri Krishna as the Braja Gopis do." This is the whole purpose of this explanation, to revere the Braj Gopis, because the Shrutis are even revering the Braj Gopis. Bhagavan said, "O goddesses, this desire of yours is very difficult to fulfill. However, your desire shall certainly come to pass." At that very moment, by the mercy of Bhagavan, the Shrutis achieved birth as gopis in Braj and attained the service of Sri Krishna in the mood of Opapatya Bhav, or unwedded relationship. Okay. So I just want to say something here, that Srila Krishna's Kaviraj in Adi Lila chapter 4, he explains why he's exposing these very confidential topics. Here today, we're understanding about the Shruticharis, the Shruti the gopis, how they attained bodies of gopis, and even were blessed with the benediction to have Krishna's lotus feet on their breasts. This is very confidential topics. So in the Adi Lila, chapter 4, Srila Krishnadas is explaining why he's writing and making these truths public. So I think it's very pertinent for me just to read these verses now, so we can hear Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj's explanation of why he's opening this topic up publicly. So he says, this is in verse 4, Adi Lila 4, verse 231. Verse 231. You can look at it yourselves. All these conclusions are unfit to disclose in public, but if they are not disclosed, no one will understand them. So Mahaprabhu has come to benedict the world, Bhakti Loke, with this truth of service to Unnata Ujjwala Prem. He's come for this reason. Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Korite Prajan. So therefore they must be disclosed to the public. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying all these conclusions are unfit to disclose in public. But if they are not disclosed, no one will understand them. Therefore I shall mention them, revealing only their essence, so that loving devotees will understand them, but fools will not. Anyone who has captured Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu in his heart will become blissful by hearing all these transcendental conclusions. All these conclusions are like newly grown twigs of a mango tree. They are always pleasing to the devotees, who in this way resemble cuckoo birds. The camel-like non-devotees cannot enter into these topics. Therefore, there is special jubilation in my heart. For fear of them, I do not wish to speak. These camel-like devotees, I do not wish to speak. But if they do not understand, then what can be happier in all the three worlds? If these camel-like devotees, camel-like personalities can't understand what Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, then there's great jubilation in his heart. Therefore, after offering obeisances to the devotees for their satisfaction, I shall speak without hesitation. So this is what Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj has already said. He's already explained why he's speaking these topics. And this portion, through the mouthpiece of Ramananda Rai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressing these highest conceptions that even the Shruticharis, they had, by taking shelter of the gopis, they achieved that rare opportunity of holding the lotus feet of Sri Krishna on their breasts, because they followed and took shelter of the Braj gopis. This is the purport of what we're reading here. Okay.
224 and 225. Samadrisha sabda kahe se bhave anugati sama shabde kahe shrutir gopi deha prapti angri padma shudhaya kahe Krishna sangananda vidhi marga na paiye braje Krishna Chandra.
The phrase Samardrisha means to accept the anugatya, guidance of the Braja Gopis, and to perform bhajan following their moods. Thus, these words signify the acceptance of Opapatya Bhav, or the mood of the gopis, as being in an unwedded relationship with Sri Krishna. We've spoken much about this Parakya Ras already. Use of the word samaha signifies that by bhajan, the Shrutis attain beautiful bodies just like those of the Brajagopis. Thus they are called samaha, by which means the same or equal. The words Angri Padma Sudha mean the nectar emanating from the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, or the happiness generated by the service or the intimate association with him. The Shrutis accepted the guidance of the Brajagopis and did bhajan, taking on the gopis' bhav towards Sri Krishna. They received accordingly the bodies of gopis in Braj, and it was in these bodies that they obtained the intimate association of Sri Krishna and the ecstasy of his service. By contrast, one cannot attain Brajendranandan Sri Krishna by practicing Vidhi Marg, the path of devotion, according to regulative principles. Only those who practice Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, like the personified Vedas, can achieve that. So this is the whole purport of what we've been reading. Even the Shruticharis, they performed, initially it was like a Vaidhi Bhakti they were performing, and then they took shelter of the Braj Gopis, and by the performance of Raganuga Bhakti, inspiring the mercy of the Braja Gopis, they attained bodies as gopis. So this is our path that's been chalked out here, that my Gurudev is describing, step by step, that unless we take shelter of those Rag Atmika souls, those Rag Atmikas, they have their souls, their Atmas, soaked in Rag. Those are the Nitya-Siddha Parsads. Lalita, Vishaka, Champakalata, Chitra, Tungavidya, Sudevi, Rangadevi, Sudevi, etc. All the Sakhis, because they're all Radha's Kaya Vyuha. But the Shruticharis were not Radha Kaya Vyuha, yet they attained the same bhav as the gopis by taking shelter of the gopis. In support of this, the following verse is also quoted.
8:226. Nayam sukho Bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha jnaninam chatma bhutanam yata bhakti matamiha.
Sri Shukadev Goswami is saying to Parikshit Maharaj, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is easily attained by those devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not as easily accessible to the performers of severe austerities who remain attached to the body, or to the mental speculators, the jnanis who are striving for self-realization, or to the seers of the self. So he's very categorically explaining who has the adhikar to attain this Braja Prem, not those yogis who are performing great austerities, etc., or are attached to the body. Generally, the yogis are generally attached to the bodies. They control their senses, but if they haven't been educated, if they haven't heard the glories of the gopis, if they haven't heard the glories of Vrindavan, then how can they ever attain that without that understanding of the sadhya, which is the whole purpose of this Ramananda Rasa Sangvad, to elucidate the sadhya, the step-by-step progress. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna allowed Mother Yashoda to experience indescribable joy in considering him to be an ordinary child, as she witnessed his childish restlessness and bound him with a rope. This joy is not possible for anyone other than those in Sri Yashoda's own group. Such inexplicable joy is unavailable to those who perform great austerities. If you're performing great austerities, very often you have a selfish motive for performing those austerities. Otherwise, why would you be doing it? All the while identifying with the body. This is what my Gurudev is explaining. When you're performing severe austerities, you're considering the bodily platform constantly. The performer of austerities may receive some minute realization of Sri Krishna if any Mahabhagavat bestows mercy upon him and then offers those endeavors to Sri Krishna. So those yogis can also attain that mercy if they get in contact with a Braja Rasik Vaishnava. Again, by the mercy of association with devotees, both he who is Atma Bhuta, meaning free from identifying the body as the self, and he who considers himself to be non-different from the Supreme, may also partially realize the Swarup of Sri Krishna as the formless impersonal Brahman. The performers of austerities and the jnanis never directly realize Sri Krishna's Savivshesh feature, his personal feature, his form, full of all transcendental attributes. Without following the Braja Gopis, even Brahma, Shiva, and Lakshmi herself are unable to achieve the service of Sri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj. In this way, Sri Shukadev Goswami has glorified to Parikshit Maharaj the transcendental quality of the Ragatmika Bhakti of Mother Yashoda and the other ladies of Braj, with which they can easily bring Krishna under their control. So these descriptions are showing how Krishna will be controlled by spontaneous love, not by austerities, not by Vaidhi Bhakti. This has to be very, very clear. It's by the mercy of the Braj Gopis coming through the mercy of Guru who is in that line. Okay.
8:227 to 230. अथेव गोपी भाव करी अंगीकार रात्रि दिन चिंते राधा कृष्णेर विहार सिद्ध देहे चिंति करे तहानी सेवान
Can you see that?
सखी भावे पाई राधा कृष्णेर चरान गोपी अनुगत्य विना ऐश्वर्य ज्ञाने बजिलेह नाही पाय ब्रजेंद्र नंदने ताहा ते दृष्टांत लक्ष्मी करीला भजन तथापि न पाइला ब्रजे ब्रजेंद्र नंदन.
Only on the path of Raganuga Bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service. This is the meaning of it. Rag means that spontaneous, and following that mood of spontaneous bhakti does one achieve the service of Brajendra Nandan Sri Krishna in Braj. The devotees in our line, we are Rag Anugas and Rupanugas. We are following the path of Rag. Simultaneously, we are following the path of Rupa Goswami path. That same achievement is not possible on the path of Vaidhi Bhakti or regulative devotional service. Therefore, the sadhak should submit himself to the mood of the gopis and day and night always think of Sri Radha and Krishna's pastimes that occur at that time of the day. So we've described this many times, the Asta Kalya Lila, from Nishanta Lila, Prata Lila, Purvana Lila, Madhyana Lila, Apuvarna Lila, Syayam Lila, Pradosh, and Ratri Lila. These 8 yamas of the day should be our meditation if we want Braja Prem. Holding in mind the spiritual body that one has received from the spiritual master and being endowed with the moods of the Sakhis, one should perform service via the appropriate internally conceived spiritual form. Guru, the spiritual master, doesn't necessarily have to be present when he bestows that realization of our Siddhadeya. If we have made a significant relationship in Vishrambha Seva with our Guru while our Guru is present on the planet, then we become qualified in some future time or even lifetime to receive from him realization of our spiritual form. We shouldn't think that, oh, my Gurudev has left this world and I don't have haven't had a revelation of my Siddhadeya. That Siddhadeya can be bestowed by any Rasik Vaishnava or Braja Rasik Vaishnava. He can bestow that realization from the apricot realm by our fervent and enthusiastic prayers to attain that. He will, of course, be realizing that, and he will bestow that when our adhikar has attained the right condition for him to do that. So it's saying internally conceived spiritual form, Manasi Seva, to the feet of Sri Radha and Krishna, according to the appropriate place and time that their pastimes are being performed. He will give us entrance into that world. One can only attain service to the divine couple's lotus feet by adopting the mood of the Sakhis, without accepting the guidance of the Braja Gopis and being endowed with the moods of awe and reverence instead. Despite being engaged in devotional service, a person will be overcome by knowledge of the Lord's opulence. If we maintain that hold on the Lord's Aishwarya nature, then we cannot enter. So that Aishwarya nature has to be purified. It will be purified by pure attraction and seva. Guru will give us that ability to purify that Aishwarya tendency. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, who worships the Lord in the mood of awe and reverence, could not, despite performing very severe austerities and worship, achieve loving service to Brajendranandan, Sri Krishna, like that of the gopis of Braj, without becoming subservient to them. The gopis, they asked her, can you make cow patties? Oh no, I've never made them. Can you leave your husband? Never. I'm a Brahmani. So that abhiman was there of being a Brahmani. By the mantra and bhav. Now this is describing in the footnote here, these bhavs refer to Ekadash bhavs, the 11 integral parts of one's spiritual form as a resident of the transcendental Brajadam, and Panchadas, 5 stages of development in one's spiritual absorption, culminating in Samadhi. So these are stages. These Ekadash bhavs are described in Jaivedama very clearly. This Sambandha, are we in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, etc., Madhurya? What is our Sambandha with our Ishtadev? Vyas, what is our age? Nam, name, Rup, personal form. Yut, Radha Bhav, Radha alone. Vesh and Guna, dress. Agyan, specific instructions. Vas, residence, eternally in Braj. Seva, exclusive service. Parikashta, swasa, the summit of emotion, life breath, and Palyadasi Bhav. These are the 11 or Ekadash Bhavs that Guru will bestow on the qualified sadhak, just as we read in Jaivedama, Braj Kumar, Vijay Kumar, he's bestowed these Ekadash Bhavs, and realizing his true spiritual form. So, where were we up to? Goddess portion.
Received from the Guru.
Where is it?
Last paragraph. Received from the Guru. By the mantra and bhav.
Oh, sorry. By the mantra and bhav received from the Guru, who is expert in tasting the mellows of Braj, and by following the appropriate sentiments of one's particular relationship with Sri Krishna, one should become absorbed day and night in the remembrance of Radha and Krishna's Astakaliya Leela, their eternal pastimes performed throughout the day. So we have this opportunity to approach this very exalted topic. We have all the materials here, Jaivedama in particular, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. We have this Rai Ramananda Sangbad with these commentaries. We have all the indications of actually how to proceed. What is lacking is our absolute faith, our strong faith in these topics. That is strengthened by our practice, by our singular practices in the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, but focused on Raganuga Bhakti, on focusing on spontaneous Bhakti. We are performing Vaidhi Bhakti, the rules and regulations. We come for Mangalati, we follow Ekadashi. We do so many rules and regulations, but our heart's desire is on attaining ultimately the mercy of the Brijbasis through the mercy of Sri Guru. So it's a very simple appreciation of the journey. And to become focused sufficiently on reading books like Bhajan Rahasya, which is describing the 8 yamas of the day, which corresponds to the Shikshastakam, reading books like Shikshastakam, which are all described in Jaivedama. So reading all these, absorbing these truths, and gradually purifying our attraction to the material energy, finding great happiness in the company of devotees, in the company of performing his festivals, pastime, appearance days, etc. Which reminds me that tomorrow, in case I forget, is my Gurudev's appearance day. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj's appearance day is tomorrow. So tomorrow here, we will, 3 of us, we will glorify my Gurudev. We will offer Pushpanjali to my Gurudev. We won't be reading tomorrow from Ramananda Rai Sangbad. We will highlight the glories of our beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and pray for his mercy, because this is what we're actually talking about here in the commentaries. So we'll honor that tomorrow. So externally, by the sadhak deha, the sadhak's body, one should follow the limbs of bhakti, such as singing kirtan, chanting a fixed number of holy names daily. We've just said this. We have to follow these principles of Vaidhi Bhakti and offering prostrated obeisances to the deities, the Vaishnavas, and to the Lord's dhams, associates and pastime places. Internally, however, in one's mentally conceived spiritual body, one should remain absorbed in the eightfold daily pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna, so that one may achieve perfection. So we should take a rain check. What am I doing in my life? How am I proceeding in this path? Is my principal meditation throughout my day in maintaining my grihastha ashram, in making 2-3 meals a day, in just looking after my family, in keeping healthy and fit bodily? Is that my principal focus of attention? Or am I diligently making time to remember the sweet pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan? How much of my time am I able to devote to remembering Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan? Of course, living in Vrindavan is a lot easier to do that, because all the udipans, all the stimulations are right alongside of us. My Gurudev used to say that if you're meditating on Vrindavan, the feet will follow the desires of the heart. So if the heart desires to be in Brajadam, the feet will follow. And eventually we will take place in those holy dhams, where the udipans are very powerful to remind us of Krishna's pastimes constantly, because this is the ultimate place of consciousness we're praying to achieve, where uninterrupted, this apratihata, what's that? Savai pumsam parodama yato bhakti ahoitiki apratihata, this uninterrupted, unmotivated, 24/7. We can do it if we simply desire that. Guru is ready to bestow his mercy on that enthusiastic devotee who really wants to do that. Do we really want to give up our attachments to our home and families and our material activities? How much do we want to give that up? If we really want to give that up, we'll start making progress towards that detachment. But that detachment is not the goal. The goal is attachment. The goal is attachment to Radha and Krishna's pastimes. That's how the detachment automatically comes. First of all, we become engrossed in the kirtans of Radha and Krishna, become engrossed in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, hearing Harikatha about these topics, become engrossed in that, wanting this more than anything else. A hunger will envelop the consciousness just to hear this repeatedly again and again. A hunger so intense that I won't even want to care about what I eat or where I'm living or my various circumstances. They'll become very, very secondary. And this hunger will engulf me to run very fast to the service of Radha and Krishna. But it's attachment that is going to manifest that. Attachment to Harikatha. This is what's going to make that possible. Not if we're just focusing on detachment. That's like we become like a yogi. This vairagya. We're not tyagis, we're not yogis. We're bhaktas who want to perform seva to Sri Radhika. And performing seva to Radhika means performing seva to her manjaris, which is our Guru Varga. So internally, however, in one's mentally conceived spiritual body, one should remain absorbed in the eightfold daily pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna, so that one may achieve perfection. If one does not accept the anugatya of the mood of the gopis and remains fixed in the concept of awe and reverence, thinking Sri Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, the supreme controller, the Lord of unlimited universes, and I am a most insignificant jiva, then even despite performing bhajan, one can never achieve Brajendra Nandan. It's a very, very high conception, isn't it? Especially, I'm living here in South India, amongst great moods of Aishwarya historically. Sri Ranganath is here, Tirupati is here. So many great personalities are being worshipped in high veneration, high awe and reverence. How can we even think of ignoring that or considering that there is something beyond the awe-inspiring form of the Lord? There is the sweetness of Brajendra Nandan, and that can be reconciled by the mercy of the gopis. It doesn't mean we, in the slightest way, disrespect the mightiness of Krishna's manifestations in Venkateshwara, for example, these different personalities. But we know that the highest personality is Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar. It's just like the different stages of the moon. The moon has many stages. They're all considered to be glorious because they're all part of the moon. So they're all glorious. But the full moon itself is the most splendid to have darshan of when it's the full moon. One can never achieve Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar. Being attracted by that service rendered by the Brijbasis, particularly by the gopis, even Lakshmi Devi, who is worshipful for everyone, came to Braj to serve Brajendra Nandan. Yet because of her knowledge of Sri Krishna's opulence, Aishwarya Gya, and because of her not coming under the guidance of the Braj Gopis, she remains cheated of that seva to this very day. I think my Gurudev is being most compassionate here and giving this clear truth in a very divine way. In his commentary on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, called Sri Anubhasya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada has stated that beyond the present gross and subtle material bodies exists the spiritual body appropriate for the service of Sri Radha and Krishna, which is called the Siddha Deha. Siddha means perfect. Deha is body. So the perfect body. As a result of mundane fruitive activities, the jiva receives a material body due to my karma, which is due to desires for gross material enjoyment. My previous karmas have produced this particular body that I'm in now. Eventually transforms into the attainment of yet another material body. We continually cycling through rebirth, birth, body after body. The jiva becomes covered by a subtle body, the mind, by desiring to enjoy materially, and then uses the mind to accomplish this. So the mind is always considering, how can I exploit this material energy for my own happiness, because I haven't connected with the happiness of my spiritual body yet. So by nature, I have to become happy. So I'm looking for happiness in the material world. Therefore, upon death, he achieves another gross body. In this way, under the influence of his lusty material desires, the pure spirit soul accepts birth in this material world, temporarily taking on both gross and subtle bodies. However, when the nature of his desires changes, the happiness of Sri Krishna becomes everything to him, and he receives an eternal spiritual body in Vaikuntha, or Golok Dham, in which he performs transcendental service to Sri Radha and Krishna. So this intense greed to bring Krishna happiness is the transition from the material consciousness to the spiritual consciousness, which means a selfless condition. We have to purify our selfish nature. For the subtle material body, it is impossible to comprehend an object that is beyond either matter or the purview of his own enjoyment. It's achintya. Chintya means bound by the material conceptions, by the material senses, but achintya is beyond. Therefore, only the devotee who is beyond the influence of the three modes of material nature, being attracted by Sri Krishna's transcendental qualities, becomes situated in his own appropriate spiritual body. Well, I don't know about you all listening to this, but I'm really learning a lot by hearing this right now. I'm finding great joy in reading, in listening to what I'm reading. Assisted by his transcendental senses, he contemplates that object which is non-material. He performs transcendental service under the guidance of the transcendental moods of the Sakhis to achieve at last transcendental service unto the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. So here is it chalked out by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. We're still hearing his quote. Without the anugatya of the Brajagopis, one does not achieve the service of Brajendranandan Sri Krishna, despite performing bhajan with a mood of great awe and reverence. This verse mentioned below from Srimad Bhagavatam proves this. So we'll discuss this on Thursday. So as I said, tomorrow we're going to glorify my Gurudev and try to actualize the instructions that are being given here to glorify our Gurudev and to beg for his kripa to at least understand what is my duty, so to speak, as a jivatma towards fulfilling the objective of the soul. How can I do this? At least I should be educated. And then from there, kripa will be needed to actually progress. But I shouldn't be in ignorance. My ignorance should be purified. So we're walking through all these steps, giving up. When you take a new step, you give up the previous step, etc., etc. So all of us, according to our particular adhikars, are progressing exactly as we should be. Everything is exactly as is ordained, so to speak. We're going at the pace that we're capable of going at. And Sri Krishna and Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas are there to support that. So Sri Rai Ramananda Sangvad ki jai. Siddhadeya Revelation ki jai. Gold Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So yesterday we were glorifying Sri Guru to give us the kripa to at least hear these truths about Mahaprabhu's opening his heart to receiving Sakhi Bhav. Sakhi Bhav means Radha Bhav from Ramananda Rai. By this connection, we understand Ramananda Rai Vishaka. Vishaka so close to Sri Radhika, born at the same moment as Sri Radhika. So Mahaprabhu wants to wake up this potential to taste Sri Radha's mood, to embody Sri Radhika. Her bhav, her moods, and her complexion are there in potential in Mahaprabhu. Shyam Sundar, Brajendranandan. But he desires to take the role of the ashraya, to serve the Vishnu. So he wants to taste the sweetness of serving himself through the efforts of Sri Radhika. Radhika, every atom of her being is only made of desire to please and pacify Krishna's calm, to serve Sri Krishna. So Mahaprabhu wants that mood of the ashraya. And by this meeting, this very sacred meeting with Ramananda Rai, that dormant, that potentiality is waking up. Because prior to this, we've already explained, in Navadvip Dham, Mahaprabhu was more in a mood of Shamras, even though he was tasting Mahabhav during the Ras Leela pastimes at Sri Vasangam, no doubt. My Gurudev has explained like this, otherwise it wouldn't be Vrindavan. It wouldn't be the same as Vrindavan if that experience of Mahabhav hadn't been there in the heart of Krishna as Mahaprabhu. So he's tasting that in that Sankirtan Ras. But the Ruda and Adi Ruda that Sri Radhika experiences, particularly in her separation moods, this is being woken up now by Ramananda Rai. Fully. Mahaprabhu doesn't, he's Krishna himself directly, but he doesn't know all the moods of Sri Radhika, the Ashraya. He doesn't know that he has those three desires. Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrishova Naiva Swadyena Buddha Madhurima Kidrishova Madhya Sokyam Kasyam Mad Anubhavat Kidrisham Vetilobat Tat Bhavadya Samajani Sachigarbo Sindhu Harindu. To taste understand the glories of Radhika's love. He doesn't, as Krishna, he appreciates Sri Radhika to such a magnitude that she can control him. But at the same time, what is that mood within Radhika that is able to control him? And what is that bliss that Sri Radhika experiences, which is actually billions, millions of times greater than the bliss that Brajendranandan Shamsundar experiences himself? We said so many times, Krishna will taste up to the degree of Mahabhav. But Sri Radhika goes beyond that to Rudha and Adiruddha. This is higher. These Sattvika Bhavs are blazing fully. This Adiruddha Bhav, all Sattvika Bhavs are blazing. So Brajendranandan wants to taste that. And this conversation is waking this up. So Mahaprabhu has been walking through all the different options on what is the ultimate reality in life, because we're going to come to this Prem Vivart Vilas, or Prem Vilas Vivart. What is the nature of Prem? This illusion of Prem, when Radhika will run and embrace a tamal tree. Krishna is astonished when he's seeing that in Vrindavan. Radhika racing to taste that illusion of Krishna being a tamal tree. Krishna is astonished. Radhika sees a peacock feather. She faints, she trembles, faints. So Krishna is desirous to taste that extreme bliss that Radhika experiences, which is higher than the bliss that he's experiencing. So all this is coming to light by this dialogue with Ramananda Rai. Now we've already been through the sadhya, and now we're discussing how to serve the sadhya. And the conclusion is that only under the guidance of the Sakhis, anugatya of the gopis of Vrindavan, can we attain even a fragrance of that bliss. So we are desirous for that under the tutelage of Sri Guru, who is in his Manjari form. All the Guru Varga are there. So this is our anugatya, this is our path that we're following. Ultimately the path of Rupa Goswami. So we are Rupa Nugas. We are all following the path of Rupa Goswami. Simultaneously, we are Rag Anugas, following the path of Rag Marg, not Vaidhi Marg. So this has all been explained. So now we come to page 203 in our book, and we actually chanted this beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-60 on Tuesday. And I'll just read the translation again, and then we'll read the Kri, and we'll carry on. So at the time of the festival of Ras Leela, Bhagavan Sri Krishna enfolded his arms around the necks of the gopis of Braj and fulfilled all their desires. The mercy and prem that he bestowed upon those gopis was never enjoyed even by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. So this is mentioned many times in comparison to Lord Narayan or Vaikuntha Bhav. This is going beyond there. Because remember, prior to Mahaprabhu, most practitioners were focused on moksha. And if not moksha, then Vaikuntha. How did they know about Brajaras and Braja Prem until Mahaprabhu advented? How did they know about it? They didn't. This is why this Kali Yuga, Danya Kali Yuga, it's so exceptional. Lakshmi Devi, who is the eternal loving consort of Bhagavan and who always resides on his chest, nor was such a boon achieved by the most beautiful heavenly damsels, whose bodily luster are like a lotus flower. What to speak of the beautiful women of this world? Now the commentary. The Brajagopis are glorified everywhere because of their above mentioned Adi Ruda Bhav. This Adi Ruda Bhav, I've said many times, is when the 8 Astasatvika Bhavs are blazing. The very elements of the body, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, they are impacted by the emotional euphoria that is experienced in exchanges. For example, the earth will manifest a mood of stamba, it's described. That means being completely stunned. Tears will come in the eyes, water. This is ashru. This is one of the Astasatvika Bhavs. Then fire, Vaivarnya and Sveda Bhav. This perspiration and change of color. And then earth, water, fire, air. Then pralaya, ether. This is when practically it's close to death. It's not death, but it's very close to death. This pralaya. And then is the final, it's described as sky. And this is romancha, kampa, and svedaved. These 8 Astasatvika Bhavs that are blazing. So this is the quality, the speciality of Adiruddha Mahabhav. In Rudha Adibhav, 5 of these 8 moods or bhavs are blazing, 5 of them. Now in Adiruddha, all 8 of these simultaneously are being impacted by the emotional exchange. So romancha is horripilation, then kampa is trembling, and swarbade is faltering of the voice. So it's helpful for us to appreciate this nature, because this is a speciality that Mahaprabhu, as Radha, wants to experience. He wants to experience specifically this Adiruddha Mahabhav, which becomes Madanakya Mahabhav or Mohan Akya. Mohan is in separation, Mohan and Modan. These are the separation. Mohan is the 5 blazing Sattvika Bhavs, and Modan is 5, and Mohan is 8. So we have Madan and Mohan. Madan, Mohan. This is meeting and separation. So, my Gurudev continues. The Brajagopis are glorified everywhere because of their above-mentioned Adiruddha Bhav. Yet for Sri Lakshmi Devi, who always resides upon the chest of the Lord of Vaikuntha, Sri Narayan, there is no such example of her exalted good fortune. In the same way, despite being the source of all incarnations, Sri Krishna performed actions which society and common man regard as low class, such as cow grazing, eating with monkeys and cowherd boys, stealing butter and yogurt, and clutching at and stealing the clothes of young girls. This is Krishna's veneer. This is his covering to take away any mood of Aishwarya. This is how Nanda Baba was reciprocating with the Gopas when they proclaimed after Govardhan Hill, we think your son is God. We think Krishna is the Supreme Personality. Nanda Baba laughed so much. He said that you Gopas, you don't produce you don't lose your milk teeth until you're 80 years old. In other words, you're quite unintelligent. How can he be God when he steals butter? when he cries, when he does, he constantly performing so many naughty acts. God doesn't do. God is dharmic, like Lord Ram presented, is Maryad. No. Krishna is acting like this. So again, Yogamaya covers the gopis. So Krishna can be in the mood of mugdata, forgetting that he's God. But he's sarva gyan simultaneously. He's both. Yet still he is glorified everywhere and has achieved the utmost limit of exaltedness. Likewise, although the Brajagopis are non-different from Bhagavan's own self, because they're his Shaktis, his direct Shaktis, being the crown jewel of his pleasure-giving potency, Hladini Shakti, Shri Radhika is the queen of that Hladini Shakti. They are renowned as ladies of the forest-dwelling community, cowherd community, who decorate their bodies with the harsh words used against them by society. Society will condemn them as those licentious milkmaids of Vrindavan, which, because they gave up their marriage vows, regards them as being of low character. All of these contradictions need to be fully, peacefully reconciled within the heart of the sadhak. Fully, fully, fully. Not even a flavor, not even a scent of doubt to go forward, understanding the absolute glories of the Sakhis. Even so, the good fortune that the Braj Gopis have attained is still far more exalted than that of Lakshmi and other beloveds of Bhagavan. So Bul, Nil, these Shaktis in Vaikuntha, Nil, Bul, Shri, these three prominent Shaktis, even higher than those, higher than Lakshmi Devi, are the Braj Gopis, the Braja Ramanis. Despite being the one and only beloved of Sri Narayan and always situated on his chest, Lakshmi is still not able to receive the good fortune of the Braja Gopis. So they're higher than Lakshmi Dev, Lord Narayan. If even Lakshmi cannot achieve such good fortune, then what to speak of the wives of other incarnations of Bhagavan, such as Sri Upendra, who have attained great beauty and good fortune, and whose bodily fragrance and luster are just like those of the lotus flower. Arundhati, Anasuya, Saraswati, all these most chaste celestial ladies, all are honoring the Braja Gopis, the Braja Ramanis. In the Ras Leela festival, the Braja Gopis, when embraced by the arms of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, became exclusive recipients of the utmost limit of exalted and merciful good fortune. So much higher than anybody else. So we're going to chant these next about 10 verses, but I'm going to explain after each verse. I'll give the translation, and then we'll hear the whole translation together. We'll break it down, reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita simultaneously. So you can carry on. Eta Suni.
232.
Actually, it's 233, by the way, if you're following.
Eta Shuni Prabhu Tare Kaila Alingana Dui Jane Gala Gali Karena Krandana.
After hearing this, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Ramananda, and both of them, embracing shoulder to shoulder, began to cry. It's going to be explained that this crying is a sattvika bhav that they're both experiencing at that time. That ashru, that water element, is being impacted. Okay.
E mata prema veshe ratri gonaila prata kale nija nija karye duhe gela.
The entire night was passed in this way, in ecstatic love of Godhead. In the morning, they both departed to tend to their respective duties.
Vidaya samaye prabhur charan dariya Ramananda Rai kahe vinati koriya.
Before departing from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Rai fell to the ground and caught hold of the Lord's lotus feet. He then spoke submissively as follows.
More kripa korite tomar ihan agamana dina dasha rahishoda mora dushtamana.
Sri Ramananda Rai said, "You have come here just to show me your causeless mercy. Therefore stay here for at least 10 days and purify my polluted mind."
Toma vina anya nahi jiva uddharite, Toma vina anya nahi Krishna prema dite.
But for you there is no one who can deliver all the living entities. For you alone can deliver love of Krishna.
Prabhu kahe ailana shuni tomar guna, Krishna kata shuni shuddha karayite mana.
The Lord replied, "Having heard about your good qualities, I have come here. I have come to hear about Krishna from you and thus purify my mind."
Eche sunilun taiche, dekilun tomar mahima, Radha Krishna prema rasa jnanera tumi sima.
Now that I have actually seen your glories, what I heard about you is confirmed. As far as the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in a loving mood are concerned, you are the limit of knowledge. And there's a purport by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada I'll read here, just a few lines. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found Ramananda Roy to be the best authority in transcendental knowledge of the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. In this verse, the Lord actually states that Ramananda Roy was the limit of this knowledge.
Dasha dinir khakata yavat ami jiba, tavat tomar sanga chadite nariba.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued to say nothing of 10 days. As long as I live, I shall find it impossible to give up your company.
Nirachale tumi ami takiba ek sange, suke gunai ba kala Krishna kata range.
You and I shall remain together at Jagannath Puri. We shall pass our time together in joy, talking about Krishna and his pastimes.
Eta bali duhe nija karya gela, sandhya kale rai puna ashiya milila.
In this way, they both departed to perform their respective duties. Then in the evening, Ramananda Rai returned to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Anyonye mili duhe nibrite vashiya, prashnottara goshtika he anandita hana.
Thus they met time and time again, sitting in a secluded place and jubilantly discussing devotional service by the question and answer process.
Prabhu puche Ramananda karena uttara, ye mata sheratre kata paraspara.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the questions and Sri Ramananda Rai gave the answers. In this way, they were engaged in discussion throughout the night. So now I'm going to read the translation of all of these Bengali shlokas together, collectively. After hearing this most unprecedented Rasa Siddhanta, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became overjoyed and embraced Sri Ramananda Rai. Each embraced the neck of the other, and both of them began to weep. They passed the entire night in this manner, absorbed in discussions and overwhelmed by ecstatic praying. In the morning they departed, so as to tend to their respective duties. When it came time to part from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sriman Ramananda Roy caught hold of the Lord's lotus feet and spoke with extreme humility, saying, "O Lord, you have come here just to bestow your mercy upon me. Therefore, please stay here for at least 10 days and purify my polluted mind. Other than you, there is no one who can deliver this jiva, and you alone can give love of Krishna." Upon hearing Sri Ramananda Rai's humble and love-filled words, Sriman Mahaprabhu said, "Having heard about your good qualities from the mouth of Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I have come here to hear about Krishna from you, and thus purify my mind. Now I am seeing your glories." Both of them are immersed in humble moods, in the moods of humility, both of them. This is the nature, the quality of prema. Prem and humility are synonymous. We've said many times. And pride and envy are synonymous. That's the contrary, the antithesis of that. But prem, humility. So here we have Ramananda Roy's humility and Mahaprabhu's humility. Now I am seeing your glories, which before I had only heard about. You are the most learned in the tattvas of Sri Radha, Sri Krishna, Prem and Ras. What to speak of 10 days? I will not be able to leave you throughout my whole life. We will remain together in Jagannath Puri, where we shall spend our time happily, completely delighted by speaking Krishna Katha. So now Mahaprabhu's desires to fulfill his innermost desire, to taste Radha Bhav as the Ashraya in the company of Vishaka Devi, and eventually back in Jagannath Puri, the company of Lalita Sakhi in Swarup Damodar. So these two personalities would be the only ones that would be there in the Gambhira. So Gadadhar Pandit is staying in Tota Gopinath temple. Gadadhar Pandit is directly Sri Radhika, but she could not possibly come in to that confidential discussion, because then Mahaprabhu would lose his mood of Radha Bhav. If Sri Radha was sitting there directly as Gadadhar Pandit, how could Mahaprabhu himself immerse himself in her mood? That would be impossible. My Gurudev gives the example, like if a young man in a village has just become married, he's been married for 6 months, and then his wife dies, and the whole village comes to commiserate with him and give him their sympathies, except for one woman whose husband has also just recently died. She knows the pain of separation, just as Gadadhar Pandit knows the pain of separation from Krishna. So Gadadhar Pandit cannot support Mahaprabhu in that way. Actually, we know the way Gadadhar Pandit supports Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu will go every day to the Tota Gopinath Mandir. Mahaprabhu manifested this Tota Gopinath deity as non-different from himself, put in the hands of Gadadhar Pandit to worship. Gadadhar was so anxious to perform seva to Gopinath. Mahaprabhu gave him Gopinath. Simultaneously, he gave him Lalita and Radha herself in their murti forms, blackish. So every day Mahaprabhu would come to the Tota Gopinath temple and listen to the verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Gadadhar Pandit. And at night he would come back to the Gambhira in the company of Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy and relish those verses that he'd heard from the mouth, lotus-like mouth of Gadadhar Pandit during the day. And it's described actually that all of Srimad Bhagavatam Mahaprabhu would hear with great relish. He would hear Dhruva Charita, he would hear Prahlad Charita, he would hear all these different pastimes, Ajamil, etc., from all of the Bhagavatam with great relish and happiness. And he would come back in the evening, and in the company of Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar, he would relish those moods that he had acquired from associating with Gadadhar Pandit. But Gadadhar himself, herself, could never come into the Gambhira, ever, at any time. Speaking thus, they both went away to perform their respective duties, and again at dusk, Sri Ramananda Roy came to meet with Mahaprabhu. After greeting each other, they went to a solitary place and sat down. With great happiness, they began to ask each other questions and receive answers. Srimad Mahaprabhu asked the questions, and Ramananda Roy answered them. In this way, the entire night passed in discussion. This is the way that the Bhasyas are composed. All the different Govinda Bhasya, etc., they're composed of questions and answers, questions and answers, questions and answers. This is how knowledge is enumerated in the Shastras, by questions and answers. So this is the same format that Ramananda Roy is going to follow with Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu will be asking the questions, and Mahaprabhu will be listening to the answers. When the passage explains that they were weeping, it actually means they were both affected by sattvika bhavs. This is what we just explained previously. For that reason, their throats were choked. And because their discussions, that's swabhed, we said in the final sattvika bhav. There are 5 degrees of intensity in the sattvika bhavs. There's domyata, which means like smoldering. Then there's, jvalita, which means there is some fire is coming. And then there's dipta, udipta, and sudipta. Udipta, dipta, and sudipta. These 5 stages of intensity. We should mark this, because this is what Mahaprabhu wants to taste. He wants to taste this Ruda and Adiruda Mahabhav. So what does that mean? So devotees should be knowledgeable of what it means. It's not difficult. And because their discussions were full of prema, both of them began to cry. Here, Goshti, or meeting, particularly refers to the conversation between them. So this is the conclusion of this section of Ramananda Rai under the guidance of the Sakhis. And I would encourage you all to read this numerous times to catch up what is our abhideya, what is our method of practice to achieve the sadhya, which we heard in the previous chapter, the description of Prem Vilas Vivart, or Prem Vivart Vilas, either way. So understand the sequence, the structure of this Ramananda Rai Samvad.